604 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, off and running. Brian here with you, Cade Wassan producing, getting you ready for a stacked up Thursday show. And when I say stacked up, I do mean stacked up. We're going to have Cup of Tech Gumbo in a little while. We'll check in on the legislative session with Jason DeCuir. We will check in on the legislative session with Governor Jeff Landry. We will have Crimestoppers coming your way. Have the insurance bills that have passed, are they enough to make change? We will go back to the insurance industry. Jay Robicheaux with Coastal Louisiana is going to join us before the show's over. And Louisiana Chemical Association has a new head. That would be David Cresson. He's going to hop on board as well. So, like I said, stacked up show. We got a lot of ground to cover. Let's start it off with top stories and trending. Number 5 starts us off with President Donald Trump issuing another pardon. We learned about the Chrisleys yesterday. Well, today we learned that President Donald Trump has issued a federal pardon for Baton Rouge rapper NBA Youngboy, whose real name is Kentrell Gaulden. Gaulden was pardoned of federal charges in Louisiana and Utah. Back in 2016, he was arrested for aggravated assault with a firearm in Baton Rouge, pleaded guilty to the felony charge in May of 2017. 3 years later, police raided a music video shoot. Gaulden was arrested on drugs and gun charges then. More than 300 students across the Baton Rouge area were paired with local companies yesterday to work a paid summer job. The jobs are part of the Mayor President's Youth Workforce Experience, which matches the students with more than 70 different companies. The program announced where students would work for the next 8 weeks at Match Day over at Baton Rouge Community College's campus. A Central resident saw a bear digging through trash bins on Wednesday morning. East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office said the bear was caught around 9 a.m. on Glen Watts Road near Hooper Road. State Department of Wildlife and Fisheries was also called out. They said the bear posed no danger to the public, so it was simply relocated and released. Yeah. Could have been. There's a fire overnight, or I should say a fire last night at a chemical wholesaler in St. Gabriel. The fire was at Brentag Southwest off of Highway 74. There were fire officials on the scene. There were police officials on the scene. Last update was around 9 o'clock last night, and as far as we know, nothing further happened as a result of this fire. Police arrested a man who they say booked a motel room for an escaped New Orleans inmate in Baton Rouge, as well as the inmate's relative who kept him in a vacant apartment. According to an arrest affidavit, V. Duck Wynn reserved a room at a Super 6 Inn and Suites on May 26th. The same day officials arrested escaped New Orleans inmate Linton Van Buren Jr. right here in Baton Rouge. What you got there, Cade?
All right. So Elon Musk is leaving his government role as the top advisor to President Donald J. Trump after spearheading the Doge movement.
All right. So
which we always knew was temporary, right?
Yes. And I'm glad you said that, because isn't that the big story this morning? Is every time I've heard that Elon Musk is leaving, it's paired with Elon Musk is unhappy with the big, beautiful bill because it adds to the federal deficit. So every news story out there is making it sound like he's leaving because of disagreements over the big, beautiful bill. But the truth of the matter is a temporary government employee can only stay 130 days. Tomorrow, is it today or tomorrow? Today's the 29th. Tomorrow makes day 130, if I'm not mistaken. So he's got to leave. There's just following the rules. He's got to go. It's not about any kind of disagreement.
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Bibi, as they call him, right?
Yeah.
Which said Wednesday that Mohammed Sinwar, believed to be the head of Hamas's armed wing, has been killed.
Interesting.
So
where's that going to go today?
Got that going for you.
Yeah, I don't know where that goes with the whole, because he was killed in Gaza Strip, right?
Yeah,
if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
I could be wrong about that. Had a lot going on yesterday. I'm not up on like so many national headlines this morning. The Elon Musk thing has just got me teed off, though.
Get that 11 with Kilmeade.
You know what? I need to do a better job. Okay, so yes, yesterday was a mess, and that's why I didn't catch any Kilmeade yesterday. What else you got?
Finally, Tinder is having to rethink the way they do business. The reason Gen Z isn't hooking up as much as the previous generation.
What?
Gen Z is,
I believe this.
The generation behind me, I assume.
You're
a millennial.
You're a millennial. Yeah. Tinder's CEO says the popular dating app that was literally a game changer throughout the 2010s when it came to meeting people and, quote, hanging out, has found itself in a bit of a friend zone in recent years due to Gen Z not hooking up as much, and the company's now announcing a change of course. Quote, this generation of Gen Z, 18 to 28, is not a hookup generation. They don't drink as much alcohol. They don't have as much sex. CEO Spencer Rathkoff told investors during an earnings call, we need to adapt our products to accept that reality. I don't understand. How would you, if you're Tinder, how would you adapt to that reality? Your job is to hook people up. I mean, maybe, I don't know. You fish where they're biting, but I don't know. Where would you go if you're Tinder?
Well, do you go back to the standard operation? Do you do some activations and on site? I mean, the original place where people met each other was out and about at bars. So why don't you set up something at a bar or out in I don't know, places? The app stuff is very new to me.
Yeah.
I was probably just ahead when I met my wife. So like right. A lot of this stuff is still new. And I think, maybe you're seeing a lot of trends go back to old school ways. And so you would think when you launch this app, mm-hmm. You would think this is endless. Everyone's always going to want to, quote, hang out.
Yeah.
So,
but how do you get them to hang out? Or here's the flip side of this though, is if they're not hanging out as much, they don't go out to drink as much anymore. Yeah. They don't hook up as much anymore.
I think you hit it on the head there.
What?
They don't drink as much anymore.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
Well, because if they were drinking more, they'd be hooking up more.
I assume so.
I think you might be right on that front.
Yeah.
I think you might be right. But if they're like alone gamers, if they're just like
Captain Morgan probably hooks people up more than Tinder.
Captain Morgan's done a lot. Captain Morgan's done too much.
Yeah.
It's 612 at Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. We are just about due up for our first break of the show. When we come back from that break, we'll talk a little LSU baseball as the Tigers get ready for regionals. Before we take that break, though, got to remind you about the folks over at Matherns. All kinds of specials this week, y'all. Center cut pork loin, $1.99 a pound. When it comes to chicken, boneless, skinless, split breast, $149 a pound. They've got all kinds of deals this week. The big special is green bell peppers are 25 cents a piece. But you're going to find all the specials on the app, like Supreme Rice, 2 bags for $5 on the app. All the coupons are on the app. And every time you shop on the app, you earn cash towards more groceries. Actually, when you shop in person, flash the app. You got your little barcode right there hooked up to your account. Show them the barcode. They scan it. It takes care of the rest. And it's good at all 3 locations. If you are downtown they're on 3rd Street. If you are by LSU's campus, I don't know, for regionals this weekend, they're right there in the Nicholson Gateway Shopping Center. And, of course, they've returned to the OG location, Highland Road, just west of Kenilworth. It's Matherns. Quick break. LSU baseball's next. Makes a good point. Yeah. Yes. Yeah. I don't know. I can't say I've ever opened Grindr. Way more user friendly. Governor. And I don't know after that. Maybe just the governor. No, he won't be in studio. Yeah. Did you see the picture I posted? His woman's hospital. Yeah. Nice. What the hell is that place? .617 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP. Tomorrow, 2 p.m. on our sister station Eagle 98.1. You will get LSU baseball, weather permitting. We'll have that forecast from Kate Cowan coming up again at the bottom of the hour. Will the showers still be here by that point? Will they have moved on? You know, Jay Johnson takes every precaution under the sun not to have a pitcher start and then stop because you lose that pitcher. Who is that pitcher going to be? Don't know yet. Probably Cade Anderson. If 2 years ago was any hint, Cade Anderson will get the start. But you got Arkansas Little Rock coming in. They've got a losing record. So it feels like it might be a bit of a waste to start, you know, a dude who's going to be a top 5 pick in the Major League Baseball draft. And for that matter, starting Anthony Ianson, either way, I feel like you're burning a guy where you don't need to. Joe Healy of D1 Baseball, D1Baseball.com, believes Johnson will go with Anderson, who has been the Friday night starter all season long. Now, Dallas Baptist is the 2 seed in the regional. They've been good on offense earlier on in the season. As the season has worn on, the pitching has moved up the ranks a little bit as well, posting up nearly 100 home runs as a team, 100 stolen bases as a team, too. So be on the lookout for that. Reagan Radcliffe is the voice of Patriots baseball. He says DBU improved on the mound during the second half of this season.
That have gotten healthy, and that, I think, over the last 3 or 4 weeks, last month of the season, that's truly been what's become the strength of this team. And I think 4 quality arms that could start, which is huge, especially as it gets to be tournament time.
Now, as we get into tomorrow, one of the things to look out for over the course of the weekend is, will Zach Cowan or Kason Evans see the bump? Nate Yeskie has said that both those pitchers have had a lot of high-stress innings so far in the season. So they did not pitch last week, which should be to their benefit.
So anytime that you can kind of take a breather before you make that real push, you got the preseason, you got your conference play, and then you got the postseason. So we're in the third part of our season, and for them to be fresh and ready to go is vitally important. And we would like to see them pitch, but it's also good that they might have had a chance to take a breather too.
LSU, Arkansas Little Rock, 2 p.m. tomorrow on Eagle 98.1. Yeah, I like that. The pull quote comes from the out music. Good morning, sir. How are you? Outkick did a story on it yesterday. That's how it ended up on my radar. So did I. His kid's in the hospital. Don't know why. I run into that problem when I'm on remote as well. Like getting him to say something definitive. Like when I'm on remote, I'm like, tell me when to go. We do have your normal volume on I-12 westbound coming in from Denham Springs, but it's just a slight tap of the brakes as you're on your way in. You're not going to find any major delays this morning on 12 westbound coming in from Livingston. I'm not going to find any delays at all on 10 westbound coming in from Ascension Parish. I-10 eastbound coming across from West Baton Rouge Parish is looking good as well. Both bridges are wide open. I-110 is wide open. Hopping off the interstates, you are going to find, I'm assuming they're both still out there being worked because they're both still on the board. BRPD working 2 accidents this morning within 5 minutes of each other. One is Presidio at Capri. Don't even know where that intersection is, but Presidio at Capri. The other is North 38th at Winnebago. So nothing jamming up the major thoroughfares in Baton Rouge at all to start off your morning. The streets are a little slick because it's been raining on and off all night. So please take some extra precautions, a couple of extra minutes added to your morning drive if you can. That's your look at traffic from the Shawville Star Traffic Center. It's 624 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Cade, I don't know if you saw this. Did you see my Facebook yesterday?
I did see that, yes.
I had the weirdest experience in a lobby of a fitness center.
Okay.
Which, Haggai, you can hop in on this too. It's lobby of a fitness center.
It was because you were in the fitness center?
No, that's not weird at all.
Oh.
I'm at the Y, 4 or 5 days a week.
Hey, that's the question we have to ask, right?
Yeah.
Why?
The why.
Yeah.
So it's more like the why not.
Oh.
So it's a different fitness center. My daughter's doing some extra basketball training and whatnot.
Yeah.
and I walk in, and The Sopranos is on the TV in the lobby. Kids running by.
Wait, in the lobby?
In the lobby of a fitness center. There's children around, and I'm looking up.
Is this like Sopranos,
right,
Sopranos, or like
Sopranos,
AMC Sopranos?
Sopranos.
There's a lot of episodes at the Bing.
Uh-huh.
And they're showing us in the lobby of a family?
I walk in, and as I walk in, there's a scene with Tony and Christopher sitting at a table, and then it goes immediately over to the scene from there where after Vito disappears and Vito's son starts getting real weird, the scene where Phil Leotardo is sitting down with him over ice cream, and like I walk into the lobby, and the first words I hear, look like a Puerto Rican whore. What? There's children around.
They can't hear the word Puerto Rican.
Or a number of the words that follow.
That surprised me because we were at a restaurant this weekend and there was a TV on a random Netflix series that didn't appear to be appropriate for the general audience.
Okay.
And I think the staff caught it and then changed it.
Yeah.
But The Sopranos is another level because there's not many episodes where either, as Haggai pointed out, the scenery is appropriate or the language is appropriate.
There are no episodes where the language
There's
is appropriate.
no episodes where the language is appropriate.
Capiche?
Well, no matter like what phase of the show you're running through. And no, it was not like an AMC version. It wasn't an edited version. This was the real deal.
It would be a 3-minute episode if you edited.
There was a Mad
TV sketch where Will Sasso played Tony Soprano. And yeah, they squeezed it all down to just about a 45-second episode.
The kitchen argument was like 2 seconds. It was just,
I mean, aside from like the only word that's not a curse word is gabagool. I mean, that's it.
It can be said in vain though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just it really am I turning into an old curmudgeon? I realize I'm probably asking the wrong people this question, but am I turning into an old curmudgeon? Because I walk in and I'm like, this is remarkably inappropriate.
No, I think you're onto something there. I think that's why they put. How
about that?
Everyone's favorite show with, either when I go to fitness places or whatever, it's either the renovation home shows,
HGTV, always
Family Feud. It's something that can be generally watched.
Shows.
Yeah,
all of those. Yeah, go get a haircut at Catroni's, and there's the HGTV and barbershop.
HGTV fits everybody's genre.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't matter. It's across the board. It's like the default. Like, what do you want to watch? I don't know either. It's going on HGTV.
Watching homes get when it's demo day, that's an extra pep in your step when you're on the elliptical.
Yeah. Always.
There you go.
I don't know. It took me by surprise. The hell were we talking about?
Rundown says left lane.
Oh my goodness, yes. One of the more obscure bills to come out of this legislative session. State Senator Jay Luno has decided he doesn't like people driving in the left-hand lane slowly. So he got a law passed to end this. Governor Jeff Landry has on his desk, among many, many other bills, the House recently passed Senate Bill 11 by Alexandria Democrat Jay Luno, making it illegal driving in the left lane without passing another vehicle is already against state law. But Jay Luno is tired of having to go slowly for other drivers. If you're in the left-hand lane, speed it up and move on, or Jay Luno is going to get you a ticket. Tioga Republican Jason DeWitt says the bill makes an important change in the existing law.
The bill removes a previous requirement that the vehicle must be traveling 10 miles per hour less than a posted speed limit for penalties to apply.
Okay. DeWitt says the change allows for better enforcement of the spirit of the law.
This simplifies the process and makes it easier for law enforcement to enforce the true intent of the law, that is, stop the bottlenecking that the drivers create.
I still don't understand how it's going to put law enforcement on the scene of everybody who's going in the left-hand lane. That's a critical part of this whole equation. Is wherever you're at, you got to have a cop there in order to enforce it. And I don't know about you, but like, I would rather our law enforcement, our already understaffed law enforcement, enforcing laws that do more than just tick Jay Luno off. By the way, the vote was 78-15 on the House side. That's how one-sided this was.
Put up a sign every 5 miles. Slow traffic, keep right.
Oh, you know that sign's going to be ignored, though. But of the 15 who voted nay, Mike Baham was in that column.
I don't think we need a new reason to pull people over and give them traffic tickets.
Exactly. Homicide, prison escapees. These are reasons to arrest people. It's 6:30. Here's news. Clinton says you're turning into Tiffany.
I'm trying to find which episode where we talked about people like Tinder and
Good morning, Christy. Welcome in, Boo.
And I know I'm losing my mind.
Oh, he led with it. It was buried, like, it was later on in the news call, so I figured it wasn't going to be first with all the insurance stuff that's getting passed.
They need to pass a federal law that you can't run for office after the age of 70.
I would agree with that.
Have you seen the news stories where now they're tracking Trump's memory loss and his dementia?
Yeah. I don't know if they're finding anything.
I mean, these are the Wall Street Journal is.
Yeah.
And that's not a liberal rag. But
No.
So which stories you want to talk about?
I want to start with the kid whose life, they saved the kid's life.
Oh, the gene editing?
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I know.
was some kind of story I saw where a young lifeguard saved the life of a kid, but he was getting sued because he didn't actually cast enough. Like, something was happening, the kid looked like he was messing around.
Is this local?
No, honestly. And like, eventually, I don't know, the lifeguard was distracted, saw it, jumped in, got the kid out, gave him CPR, saved his life. But the parents were like, oh, even that fast.
The Good Samaritan laws are supposed to protect you from that.
I don't know. I would think. I mean, at the end of the day, you would get his efforts. I didn't see what happened.
Guy collapsed on the tennis courts,
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah, he was playing tennis, and the lifeguards
We're over by the pool.
ran over there and saved him.
Which, lucky they saw him at Bocage. The clubhouse is in, but they got
somebody must
the
have
concession
called.
stands in between.
Somebody had to say, hey, because they used the AEDs on them and everything.
You should go right to it. You can go right to it.
Are y'all using that annoying woman that 104.5 does for intros now?
No,
Good.
no, we've got Neil.
Okay, good. That woman on 104.5 is annoying.
You think?
Oh God, I hate it. But I'm the crotchety old bastard who doesn't like stuff like that. I mean, it's targeted to a 15 to 30-year-old demographic. I get that. They probably like it.
She sounds like she smells like cigarettes.
Oh yeah. Yeah, like you would. She would outdrink you in a bar, kind of person. Not somebody you take home to meet mom.
Oh, I thought you were asking me if I tossed a weather.
Yeah.
Oh no, but I do toss to Ted Gum. Don't worry about it. And it's time for a cup of tech gumbo, and the topics are all over the place this week. Haggai, welcome aboard. How are you, man?
I'm doing great.
The we'll get down to business here in just a minute, but I got to start with yesterday's Rotary meeting.
Yeah.
Haggai and I are both members of the Baton Rouge Rotary Club. That might have been the most entertaining program we've had at Rotary ever.
He was fascinating.
So it was this guy, Glenn was his first name?
Yes,
Gentry from LSU Ag, talking about the feral hog problem. And if I'm being honest, I was considering bailing right at the beginning. It's like, I don't want to hear about it. But as soon as he started talking, I was in for the whole time. Gonna get him on the show. I got to get him on the show.
Absolutely. He did great.
Yeah.
He was wildly entertaining in his delivery. And the information was really cool. I mean, talking about these damn pigs that are doing all this damage to everybody and how he's trying to combat that with sodium nitrate.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's okay. You eat that if you had bacon this morning or sausage, well, you've had sodium nitrate, but if hogs eat too much of it, it kills them.
Right.
Like, wow. Okay, great.
And he showed a map. I didn't know the hog problem was this bad. I knew it was bad, but I didn't know it was this bad. 63 of 64 parishes have a feral hog problem, and the way he put it, and that's just because St. John the Baptist ain't looking.
They're a swamp too.
Also true. Well, okay. Yeah, that plays into it. But I mean, they're not the only ones who are swamp.
No, I mean, St. Mary is mostly swamp.
Right.
Too.
And they have pigs. And like literally as we speak.
There are high grounds in the swamps.
Yeah. State Senator Caleb Kleinpeter letting us know we have hog problems. We do. It's bad. It's bad. I didn't know we couldn't hunt our way out of it, though. I figured that would be the thing.
If you create a 3-month hunting season and tell people, hey, guys, there's a hunting season for hogs, now they're going to, as opposed to just, oh, go kill all the hogs you want. If you call it a hunting season that just renews every 3 months,
right?
Put some incentive behind it, guys. Come on.
Kind of like truck month.
Yeah.
It's always truck month, but it's a call to action because it's truck month.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's hog month.
Yeah.
And you could, like, there are companies that do this. You can hop on a helicopter with an AR-15 and, like, go full on, like the 2 FBI guys in Die Hard.
Yeah. Moving target practice.
Hopefully you'll end up in a better position than the two, than Agent Johnson and Special Agent Johnson. No relation. Hopefully you'll end up better than them, but you can hop on a helicopter with an AR-15 and just mow down feral hogs.
Just stay away from Nakamoto Towers and you'll be fine.
That's Nakamoto Towers.
Whatever that
Nakatomi Plaza.
Nakatomi Plaza. Sorry. That was close. Sorry, Nakamoto.
Yeah. All right. We got a lot to cover here this morning, and I want to start off. We don't normally start off in the medical world during a Cup of Tech Gumbo, but there's a 9.5-month-old boy who had a rare condition, and a gene editing treatment saved his life. Tell me all about this.
So this child was born, his initials were KJ, and his body could not process ammonia. Like 1 in 1.3 million babies are born this way. And pharmaceutical companies are not going to spend the time and money to come up with some kind of cure for this. And this child happened to have been born in a research hospital. And these researchers had been doing a whole lot of research and practicing and getting ready for just this opportunity. The baby's born, presented with these problems, and these doctors who had been working with the FDA saying, look, when the situation happens, we want you to say it's okay immediately so we can jump in. Most children born with this don't live past the first week.
Mm-hmm.
If they live past the first week, almost none of them live more than a month.
Right.
Well, the doctors jumped in. They took this baby's DNA. They broke down the 23 chromosomes, and they figured out which little part of the chromosome needed to be edited. And they gave him, for several months, this DNA gene editing treatment, and the kid is doing fine now. He's no longer taking the treatment. He's 9.5 months old and is going to live a normal life.
Okay. Now, this is not just about KJ, because as I read the story, there's about 7,000 different rare diseases that can be treated with this gene editing, and it'll affect about 30 million people. The problem on the front end is there's not enough money on the back end to invest in the R&D on this.
So the fact that these researchers were prepared, because this was specifically has to do with the liver and how the liver eliminates and processes ammonia. And so they had been studying this in this one specific incident, and they were able to have the perfect scenario where, because of all of the research they had done, they'd been using artificial intelligence to run simulations and practice, and they could prove now that it would work.
Mm-hmm.
So now they can go back and ask for more money to do more research and use the science that says we can help children in this situation. And maybe there's other now problems that they can attack by going in and editing somebody's DNA down to the gene level. That is just so amazing.
It is amazing. It is amazing. And it will be life-saving moving forward. My issue here is, and glad KJ's doing great. Okay. That's awesome. But has this crossed the line of playing God?
Okay. Ask those parents that.
No. And that's why I say it's great that KJ's doing great, but has this crossed the line of playing God?
You know,
I know KJ's parents don't care.
They had to take the leap of faith that, okay, and they put their faith in the doctors and hoped God was looking over the doctors and gave them guidance. I don't know that this is playing any more God than open heart surgery is. Because, I mean, without open heart surgery, people were dying a whole lot faster, a whole lot younger.
Very true. Very true.
And any of the medical treatments that we're doing nowadays, or because of modern science, and if you're a person of faith, it's because God has given people the abilities to come up with these treatments and these cures, because this kid is cured of a disease that should have killed him at a week old.
See, you used the word right there too. You said should have instead of could have. The disease should have killed him, and the doctors stopped what should have happened.
Should have, because of
but
medical statistics.
But you see what I'm saying, though,
right?
It's and look, every time there is an advancement of this magnitude, this question does have to come up,
and it's a legitimate question.
Yes, and we need to walk the path every single time. It's Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park, right?
Yeah.
It's you spent so much time wondering if you could, you never asked if you should, and this is one of those times. So. So does science and technology take a step back and not go there? Great question.
Because of religious implications? I mean, in my mind, and I'm a religious person. I enjoy my faith very, very personally. But if science and technology can help extend life or make someone's life better,
mm-hmm.
I don't have a problem with that. I don't see it's a religious issue. I see it. I look at it from the other side of God is giving these doctors and these scientists the ability to make people's lives better.
Tell you what, let's push pause right there. Come back. We got a lot more to cover. Cup of Tech Gumbo. He is Haggai Davis. We do it about this time every single Thursday. Quick break. We'll check your money now. We'll check traffic. We will continue next on Talk 107.3 FM.
So, we're talking about, are you a curmudgeon? So if I told you what my kids have said whenever they have kids, what they want my grandchildren to call me, they want my grandkids to call me Cobb.
Cobb?
As in crotchety old bastard.
Okay. I don't think you're crotchety.
Usually not. But I can be.
But the religious question has. Oh, okay. First of all, we're just now getting to the point where laws are being passed to free up in vitro fertilization because of religious grounds before that. Right. And it's still shaky in some states. Paula Davis just got a law passed here. Alabama still doesn't know what they're doing. Right. If something as simple as in vitro fertilization, or something that's been around as long as in vitro fertilization, is still in question, tinkering with somebody else's genes is really going to be in question.
And it's I just have a problem if somebody's going to tell me I can't have a baby because you think I'm playing God. My wife can't. For whatever reason, my wife and I can't get pregnant, but in vitro fertilization would allow us to have our child.
Well, as Catholics, we're supposed to adhere to that.
One of those things is the Catholic Church that I disagree with.
Same. Really? Okay. How long? Well, shit, this is a short traffic report then. Okay. I got it. Okay. All right, we'll go with AI powered commercials here.
Okay.
Shit, I'm behind on live reads. I haven't even looked at it. Give me 60 seconds. 652 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Back into a cup of tech gumbo in just a second, but do need to remind you about the folks over at Landmark Bank. LandmarkBankLA.com is the website, LandmarkBankLA.com. If you want all the service of a community bank with all of the bells and whistles of your big boys, this is what Landmark Bank does. Check them out at LandmarkBankLA.com. You're not going to find them in downtown Baton Rouge. You're not going to find them in downtown New Orleans. You're not going to find them in downtown Manhattan. You're going to find them in Zachary and Clinton and Denham and Brewley. They started in 1897 as a community bank, and in 2025, they remain true to their mission. They are a community bank. So when it comes to your personal checking and savings, when it comes to business checking, when it comes to investing, when it comes to your retirement, when it comes to borrowing, LandmarkBankLA.com. Don't just have a bank, have a banker with LandmarkBankLA.com. Haggai, Netflix and YouTube are doing their level best to ruin themselves.
So if you are somebody who doesn't want to pay the full, whatever, 19, 15 bucks a month to not see ads, you're one of these folks, you're good with paying $6 a month and they insert ads into the shows that you're watching, you're going to get something a little more special now.
Okay.
They're going to start using artificial intelligence to, let's say you pause, you're watching a show and you hit pause on the show because you got to go to the bathroom, go get something to drink or whatever. They're going to use artificial intelligence to have watched with you the past minute or so of the show that you're watching. And then they're going to create a commercial using some of the language from the show you're watching about the product that they're promoting. So let's say you're watching whatever show and you hit pause. Hey, while you're going to the bathroom, if you need a Coca-Cola, go get a soft drink, the Coca-Cola, blah, 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 because you're at the beach because you were watching a show about the beach or something like that. It's going to be amazingly invasive and wildly creepy that these AI ads are going to be targeted to you about the show, including things from the show you were watching, just because you hit pause somewhere. Or even if you don't hit pause, you're in the whatever time breaks that they insert these ads. Yeah, it's going to freak a lot of people out.
Okay, so back up to me watching The Sopranos.
Oh, yeah.
Am I going to get Phil Leotardo 20 years in the can? I wanted a Coca-Cola. Like, is that how that's going to roll?
You're at the bada bang and
could it be an ad for Rocco's?
It could be.
Yeah.
It could be an ad for Rocco's.
There you go. So,
by the way, the Reverend of Roast Beef, the Minister of Meat, the Priest of Po' Boys, he's going to be in tomorrow.
Nice.
Foodie Friday tomorrow, presented by the Louisiana Beef Industry Council.
Now, YouTube is doing something a little different.
Okay.
AI is going to be watching the show. They're going to have pre-watched it, and it's going to know the premium moments, the peak moments, if you will, and they're going to stop it right before that and show you your ads. Kind of like, the cliffhangers of when you used to watch TV and the have the 3 segments, and the first segment would lead up to, the big drama moment, go to commercial. So YouTube is going to start doing that too. If you pay the full $15 a month for the YouTube Premium, you don't get ads. But if you want ads, if you don't want to pay the $15, you're going to start seeing these, and they're going to wait until they're going to have previously watched it and look for the premium moments in the videos that you're watching on YouTube?
I don't really hate that. From a marketing standpoint.
Oh no, if you're a marketer,
yeah.
Look, and at some point they're going because they make a lot more money showing advertising than you paying your premium subscription. So they would much rather you.
Now, it'll be a real ad though. It won't be like something
on YouTube. It will be a real ad.
The Netflix thing is because they're trying to generate something based off of a limited sample size. So what they're going to get on the back end is something that it comes out all wrong.
Absolutely, yeah.
It's going to be it like back to The Sopranos. It's going to be Uncle Junior from McDonald's saying Burger King never had the makings of a varsity athlete.
I love that.
Thank you.
Yes.
The cliffhanger thing makes sense because we've done this for years. Well, it was just executive producer Dick Wolf.
That's how TV came about. For 50 years, we had the 3 segments every half hour.
Right. The procedural.
It was 8 minutes, then 12 minutes, and then the last 4. I mean, that's how we did it. And so.
Right. And whether you're talking about Law and Order, the SUV, whether you're talking about Grey's Anatomy, whether you're talking about Howie Mandel on Deal or No Deal, saying we'll open the briefcase right after this.
Tim the Tool Man Taylor,
yes!
You knew exactly when the breaks were coming. I mean, and so that's where they're headed back with this. And it's
okay. Is it weird that I find it reassuring that the more things change, the more they stay the same?
Yeah, I guess there is a little bit of comfort in that part of it. If YouTube is going to that, okay, for those who want to watch ads, the concerning part is at what point, when they're going to start jacking up these prices. So, okay, it's $15 now, but within a couple of years, it could be $30 for your premium YouTube, or your Netflix, which is $19, could be $40 a month.
And at what point does it make it more cost effective to just go back to cable?
And or just open up a book and start reading instead of spending money for videos.
Oh God, no. Read? Are you kidding me?
Ugh. Well, just to you and Kay were talking about, the millennials or not the Gen Z, whatever, not using Tinder. We talked about that on Tech Gumbo back in April.
Okay.
And how those kids are not going out to the bars. They're not doing things.
No, they're not.
And they are spending more time with other forms of entertainment, like
games. They're gamers.
And also TikToks and things like that. But they're also reading more.
I love that.
Yes.
I do love that. Meanwhile, the internet is shortening our attention span, making it harder to read more when you want to read more. In the meanwhile, you catch a full serving of Tech Gumbo weekends, Saturdays and Sundays right here on Talk 107.3 FM, or, of course, anywhere you get your podcasts on demand. He's Haggai Davis. We always appreciate the time, sir.
You betcha, Brian.
ABC News coming your way. Hour 2 is next. Speaking of TikTok, this is where my algorithm has sent me. Do you remember Local on the 8s?
Yeah.
From the Weather Channel?
Yeah, absolutely.
My feed is full of people playing guitar with 90s Weather Channel music. Hang on. This guy's like, it's amazing. I think this is the real song. Is that?
Yeah. That's it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
The high today will be 85 degrees with a 40% chance of rain.
That's 100% the Weather Channel music.
Absolutely. So that's somebody who's really bored
and really, really good at what he does.
Oh yeah, very talented, but
guy's a ridiculous. His name is Ian Litovich. It looks kind of like Josh Ennis. I know. So that's what my TikTok's like these days.
So did y'all talk about the Chicago Sun-Times and those 15 books, the hot list?
Oh, the fake books?
The fake books?
No, we did not.
That was So the Chicago Sun-Times released their top 15 books for the summer. Except the guy who did the article used ChatGPT, said, go find me the top 15 books. And of the 15 books, 10 of them do not exist.
That's awesome.
Took real authors, gave them book titles, and then created a summary of the book. And one of the authors saw this and said, I didn't write that book. It's not a book I've ever written. And so the Chicago Sun-Times has had to, take it back and say, we're sorry. But, oh, by the way, they've also laid off 20% of their employees to use more AI.
The more AI can fail, the more fun life gets. It's you can't. I mean, Marvin Gaye had it right. Believe half of what you see and none of what you hear. Oh, the other thing in my TikTok right now, AI babies. Okay. Yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, the Pines. That's a great episode.
Pine Barrens.
I love it.
Oh, they cut it off. Christopher's supposed to say his house look like shit. So that's where my feed is full of this. From Chappelle Show. .704 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Thanks again to Haggai Davis for stopping by for a cup of tech gumbo. We are just getting started. Hour 2 coming your way right now. Jason DeCuir from Advances Consulting hopping on board in our next segment. Thank you, Haggai. Jason hopping on board in our next segment. We'll talk a little bit about what's going on with the 2-week mark. 2 weeks to go in the legislative session. Also this hour, Crimestoppers. I believe the folks from iCare will be in today for our Crimestoppers segment. Don't forget, 8:05, we will have Governor Jeff Landry on the hotline. Get a kind of an update with the 2-week warning. It's like the 2-minute warning in the NFL. You get the 2-week warning in the legislative session. So that's going to lead off next hour, which, by the way, that's going to push This Day in History, presented by 5 Star Printing and Signs. You can get hold of them at 271-4096. We're going to move them up to 7:55. Abbreviated version, but we will touch on what went down on this day in history at 7:55. And always shout out to my guy Danny over at 5 Star for that. All right. How do we start off hour number 2? Same way we started hour number 1. Top stories and trending. I remember how last week we had, started off the week reporting on that shooting at the McDonald's on South Sherwood Forest. Well, a suspect has been arrested. 24-year-old Sakiron Taylor was arrested yesterday for the Saturday shooting. According to BRPD, the shooting happened after a verbal argument turned physical around 1 p.m. Authorities said Taylor had pulled a handgun, shot the victim, and then bailed. He was gone before police arrived. Well, he has been arrested. President Donald Trump has issued a federal pardon for Baton Rouge rapper NBA Youngboy, whose real name is Kentrell Golden. Golden was pardoned of federal charges in both Louisiana and Utah. Arrested back in 2016 on aggravated assault with firearm charges right here in Baton Rouge. He pled guilty to the felony charge in May of 2017. More than 300 students across the Baton Rouge area were paired with local companies yesterday to start work on a paid summer job. The pairing happened at Baton Rouge Community College. The jobs are part of the Mayor President's Youth Workforce Experience, matching students with more than 70 different companies around town. A Central resident saw a bear digging through trash bins on Wednesday morning. The East Baton Rouge Parish Sheriff's Office was called out around 9 a.m. to Glen Watts Road near Hooper Road. State Department of Wildlife and Fisheries was called out as well. Deputies determined the bear posed no danger to the public, so it was relocated and released.
I thought he was moving to Chicago.
The bear?
A bear.
A bear. Oh, that's T-Bob, a bear. This was just a bear. O bear? Police arrested a man they say booked a motel room for an escaped New Orleans inmate in Baton Rouge, as well as the inmate's relative who kept him in a vacant apartment. According to an arrest affidavit, the Duck Wynn reserved a room at a Super 6 Inn and Suites on May 26th. The same day, officials arrested the escaped New Orleans inmate Linton Van Buren Jr. in Baton Rouge. He was spotted over there by Hammond Plaza. So
part of the Van Buren boys?
Part of the Van Buren boys, but was over there by Hammond Plaza because apparently there was a sale at Marshall's. What's trending there?
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said Wednesday that Mohammed Sinwar, believed to be the head of Hamas's armed wing, has been killed.
Looking for fallout from that. I can't imagine that's going to sit well. No. Retribution, return fire, all the things.
Yeah.
Yep.
Elon Musk is leaving his government role as the top advisor to President Donald J. Trump because he hates Trump and is tired of working for Doge.
Yeah, that's exactly how that played out. After the big, beautiful bill started making its way through, Elon Musk and Donald Trump got into a big old fight, reportedly. They hate each other now. This is all about the big, beautiful bill and Elon Musk not getting everything with it. It has nothing to do with the fact that he's a temporary employee who can work 130 days and tomorrow marks that 130-day mark, right?
Right.
It has nothing to do with that. Oh, this is going to be one of those things where you need to pay attention to the way things are reported. Because every time I've heard this reported this morning, and by the way, I don't know who's immune to this because I heard it reported in the Fox rundown in the 4 o'clock hour this morning, the same way I heard about it in the 5 o'clock hour, and the same way we just heard about it in our last news break.
Yeah.
Oh, there are disagreements over a big, beautiful bill. Nope. His time just ran out.
There is like a coincidence that he does have some kind of disagreement, but I don't. That's spurring up with.
One has nothing to do with the other.
Right. As they would say down to buy, Tinder is a little fashioned because they have to rethink the way they do business. Gen Z isn't hooking up as much as the previous generation, and that's kind of Tinder's thing, right? People getting together for activities.
You swipe whatever way. Which is the one to hook up, right or left? I don't have Tinder on my phone. I've been
wrong dude here.
Married since before Tinder was a thing, so I couldn't. I've been married since before smartphones were a thing.
The one way is good, the other is bad, and the one that's good is not being done as much. I guess.
I don't think they're using it at all anymore.
Oh, they're just not using it at all.
Just the overall usage.
So
they're not even scrolling anymore.
The get together. They're just not even downloading or using the platform.
No, I just because they're not going out to bars. They're not hooking up. Like all of it's just fallen to the wayside here. Gen Z is going to single-handedly end humanity by not reproducing. That's how that works.
Well, they can. I was trying to make a cheesy Gen Z joke, but I don't know. It's a letter at the end of the alphabet.
Yeah.
Put your tinfoil hat on.
Yeah, there you go. 7-11 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Top stories and trending always brought to you by the folks at the Baton Rouge Metro Airport. FlyBTR.com is the website. FlyBTR.com if your business has business in our nation's capital. FlyBTR.com has a direct flight for you every day. Leaves about 7:15, comes home in the evening. You can get your business done same day at flybtr.com. Please hold. Get your business done same day. Fly to Reagan National, right in the heart of it. You're not going out to Dulles or Baltimore or anything. You're going right to Reagan National. Get your business done same day. Come back home to Baton Rouge Metro Airport. So once you get back home, it's not like you got another hour drive in front of you. You're right there in Baton Rouge. Support a local business. Take advantage of the whole experience. flybtr.com. Quick break. Come back. We got Jason DeCuir next. Is that Jason? Hey, this is Brian. Who do I have? Oh, hey, Blake. Okay. What do you want to cover this morning? Okay. I definitely want to get to that because I'm sure there's a ton. All right. Hang tight. Come in your way in a second. No. It's BLAIKEORDEZ. Blake works for Jason. I didn't know Jason was going to be out again. ORDEZ. Yep. Yeah. $7:14 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. So last week, Blake Ordaz from Advantage Consulting pinch hit for Jason and did such a good job that she is back today. Blake, welcome back. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing very well as well. So you step into the role and now you just like completely kick Jason out?
I guess I did such a great job. He wanted me to keep going.
Hey, look, I got no complaints on this end. I love Jason, but you and I could chat all day long. I mean, like last week as well. Let's pick up from last week. We started in on some of the inventory tax stuff. Can we pick up where we left off with that? With what's actually making its way through the legislative process right now?
Yeah. So just a brief update from this week. I know we mentioned that there's 3 bills that we're going through. Some of them kind of conflicted with each other about inventory tax. So one of them, it was SB 44 by Senator Luno, and this actually repealed the refundability of the inventory tax credit for PTEs and unincorporated businesses. So it also repealed the credit for offshore vessels in the Outer Continental Shelf. So yeah, that one was voluntarily deferred this week. We don't anticipate it coming back, but there was a lot of discussion here, some discussion that I want to look further into. Apparently, there's a lot of history behind this, and businesses in the past have threatened to sue over the constitutionality of property taxes on these vessels. Very interesting. So this bill was voluntarily deferred after hearing all of these arguments, which we think is good for business and industry.
It's good for business and industry that they were deferred, is what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. That sounds about right. And you said this was by Jay Luno?
Yeah.
So fortunately, he was way too busy getting mad at people in traffic to follow through on this one. You hear about that. I know this has nothing to do with taxes or money or economic development or anything, but you heard about that bill?
I have not. Which bill
Oh
was
my
that?
goodness, this is so great. It's on the governor's desk already. Okay, it's already cleared most of the legislative process minus the governor's signature. He got a bill passed to where you can be ticketed if you're not passing in the left-hand lane. Like, he got a bill passed based off of like what grinds his gears. If you're driving too slow in the left-hand lane, and I mean, it was like overwhelming, like a 78-15 vote on the House side to get this thing passed to further enforce what was already the law, further enforce that if you're driving in the left-hand lane and you're lollygagging and Jay Luno's behind you, that's now a that's now a crime.
Oh, that's funny.
Isn't that awesome?
I can't say I'm mad about the bill, though. That's for sure.
No, I mean, look, if it's going to distract him from other things, that's fine. I can't say you're going to have state troopers everywhere you need them when times go, if you're stuck behind somebody in the left-hand lane, the likelihood that there's just going to be a cop handy. Okay. I mean, there's that. But anyway, that's just one of the other things going on, which it's no wonder we can't keep our eyes on the prize and move forward when it comes to, I don't know, advancing the state on its competitive nature. What else is going on? Let's talk about the bills that were the repercussions of Constitutional Amendment number 2 failing, because we've actually seen some progress there.
Yeah, we have. So we've mentioned this before. Constitutional Amendment number 2 was broken up into 5 separate bills, and they're all making their way through the Senate. So they started in the House, have made it to the Senate, and are now in Senate committees. One of them being the inventory tax piece of CA2. It's pending Senate final passage. I had hoped that would be heard this week and passed along, but it has not yet. Maybe today. I think it's now scheduled for today, but it's been scheduled for yesterday and the day before as well. So we'll see, but that one's pending final passage, and then the rest are still in Senate committees.
The likelihood, and we're going to get to this on another front in a minute, but the likelihood, if you're clear of your original chamber and moved on to the next chamber, there's still 2 weeks is enough time to still get things done.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, considering that they have passed that chamber and are now into this chamber, I think they're good. And we don't anticipate any issues with these passing, just given that they did pass last year, just all in one bill,
The hard part about this, though, is when they all passed in one bill, there was some, I don't want to say some things that were lumped in that were kind of like the not prettiest parts of this thing. Are we going to get everything that we would have gotten out of CA2, even if it's, a la carte, even if it's individual, or are pieces missing from CA2 that just aren't going to be, across the finish line by the end of the session?
Well, I will say there are pieces missing, and I actually think it was more of the controversial issues. So, for example, they had in CA2, they had a provision to move property tax exemptions out of the Constitution and into statute. So they would no longer be constitutionally protected. They could then be changed by the legislature alone, not requiring a vote of the people. And I think that one had a lot of people up in arms about CA2. Well, luckily that one was not included in any of these breakout bills from CA2. So I think they did take notes, and they noticed which pieces were, really not favorable among the people, and took those pieces out.
We're talking with Blake Ordez from Advantis Consulting about the ongoing legislative session. That was the part that had everybody up in arms about, the legislature wants to get rid of the homestead exemption, when the opposite is actually true.
Yeah, and that was funny because they actually weren't even touching the homestead exemption in CA2, but things got so twisted, and I think there were campaigns that were confusing people. So that was actually one that would have stayed constitutionally protected, but there were other pieces that weren't. So, for example, I think nonprofits was one of them, the property tax exemption for nonprofits. So they were super worried about that. But like I said, that is not included in this one. So hopefully, for the sake of the legislature and the funding that we need, this will pass right along without too many issues.
Blake, we've spent a lot of time, not you and I, but on this show, I've spent a lot of time talking about the insurance bills making their way through this legislative session. But on the economic development front, have we seen any movement that is going to help Susan Bourgeois in her fight to get more jobs here?
Oh, yeah. Actually, one of her bills that creates the high impact jobs. So this is the program that would replace quality jobs. That was just heard yesterday in Senate Commerce, and that is making its way through. No amendments. There were some questions, but no opposition at all. And I do think that they're really testifying well on campaigning for these programs. I mean, if you go back and watch this committee, I was certainly hooked.
Which bill was this?
So this is HB 507 by Representative Emerson, and it creates a program called High Impact Jobs. So how it works is if a company pays 125% above the parish average wage, they could get up to a grant of 18%. And then they do have another tier, and they actually have a specific category for distressed areas. So it's really targeting, high paying jobs, not too much focused on how many jobs, but the intent is to, get many jobs that are high paying into the state for the residents.
So how would it be funded?
I think they're still working through that. I believe it would be the corporate funding. So all the corporate income tax that they collect, it would go into this fund. But I think they're still working through that. And also the funding from, the merger of the Revenue Stabilization Fund and the Budget Stabilization Fund would free up some money from the state to the state general fund. So that's the intent. And like I said, this would replace quality jobs. So it would have, I would assume, the same funding mechanism.
This is, I'm actually reading it right now, and boy, have they been working on it. It's, I'm engrossed over here. So it's been amended a few times along the way, but I am loving this. Like, okay, so there would have been 8% for a project located in a distressed area with wages equal to or greater than 110%, but less than 125. And then it bumps up to 18 when you get over that number. This is remarkable.
Mm-hmm. And then the highest tier is 22% if you pay 150% of the parish wage. Now, I did want to note that distressed area tier, that could either be 110% of the parish or the regional average. So companies can then choose, they can look at the parish versus the region, whichever is less or more, they could choose which wage average to use.
Very, very cool stuff. And this bill is on the Senate side already. So probably pretty close to hitting that finish line, to be sure. Is anything else happening on the LED front that we need to know about right now?
Yeah, so we do have HB 433 by Representative Deschantel. So this is interesting. It's, there's not many rules or clarification on this bill, but the bill establishes the Site Investment and Infrastructure Improvement Fund. So this would be appropriated to the LED for economic development purposes. Again, there's not much context outside of the program or the fund being created, but we assume that the LED, it would be a discretionary program. They're going to put out rules on how this fund can be used, but pretty much just so companies could come in and say, hey, I really want to build a business on this plot of land, but the land is very, needs a lot of development. Can you help me out? That's how the program would likely work. And then the LED can, pick who, what jobs and what companies would be able to get money from this fund. But yeah, it's going to be a discretionary fund.
Discretionary fund that I have the fiscal note open on it. It's discretionary fund without money yet. The funding of this is going to be the interesting part for sure, because I'm sure once it's up and running, everyone's going to be fighting for this.
Yeah. Interestingly, it had a cap of $150 million that would be deposited from the state general fund, but that cap was removed in committee, or I think on the House floor. So there is no cap currently. Maybe there will be one set eventually before it leaves the House and Senate and goes to the governor. So we're keeping an eye, but like I said, there's not much context to this, so we won't really know until the LED promulgates rules how they're going to use this.
Yeah. No, absolutely. We got just a couple minutes left with Blake Ordaz from Advantis Consulting. In these remaining minutes, let's talk about what's left on the table here. Some things that are still early on in the process. With 2 weeks to go, it's kind of looking like you can, as they triage and start to close down a little bit. I don't want to say not going to make it because I don't want to be negative, but what's looking like it might fall to the wayside at this point?
Yeah, so I know we've talked, and Jason DeCuir has come on here and talked about a few of these bills. So an example is HB 666 by Representative Reiser. This is the bill to lower corporate and individual income tax rates, but to add on 13 additional taxable services, from rideshare, security, dating services was interesting. So that has not moved. That's just one.
Well, we learned in our top stories and trending this morning that Tinder is on the decline anyway. So I don't know that taxing dating services is going to be the way to roll there. You had to assume that anything with the number 666 was going to be doomed, though, right?
Yeah, and I will say I've heard it being referred to as the devil bill quite a couple times. So he really walked into that one.
He really, really did. What else is out there?
So I know Jason has mentioned the NIL income tax deductions and exemptions.
Yeah, this is Dixon's. This is Dixon McMakin's bill.
Yeah. Well, one by him. There's another one by Representative Young. And these were just tax deductions for compensation paid to these college athletes. But these have not moved either. We're seeing a ton of credits as well that are just not moving. Another big one is the overtime and no tax on tips bills. Those have not moved as well.
Okay, good. I'm glad you brought that up. Do we have to worry about that if that's going to be handled on a federal level, or is that separate because it's state?
I think that's separate because it's state.
Okay. Well,
yeah.
It does count as income, although I don't know how much we actually count it as income. That being said, though, if it's not moving, it's not moving. In the meanwhile, she is Blake Ordaz from Advantis Consulting. Greatly appreciate the time and the update this morning. We'll talk to you soon.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. It is 7:29 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP. Okay, coming up this afternoon, I'm going to be out at Vex European. I am long overdue to get my car serviced, and I'm getting that taken care of today. And it was Tuesday, right during the show. I went ahead and made my appointment for today during the show. It's that easy. If you hop on vexeuropean.com, hit the little appointments tab, quick little thing you got to fill out, your name, your address, your phone number, your make and model of car, and then you tell them what you're bringing your car in for. It's that simple. Vexeuropean.com. If you drive a European vehicle, you made that investment for not just the performance, but the longevity as well. You want to keep your car going for as long as you possibly can. That's why I go to Vex European. I've got an 18-year-old vehicle, and it still runs smooth, and it still runs great, and I'm getting the most out of my vehicle because I use Vex European and vexeuropean.com. Hit up the website, hit the vehicles tab, see if your make of vehicle is on there. If it is, go ahead and hit, you know what? If it is, hit the specials tab. See if we can't save you $100 on your first visit over at vexeuropean.com. We're coming up on 7:30 at Talk 107.3 FM. It is time for us to check news. After news, we will check traffic. After traffic, we will check weather. After that, I Care's in the house for Crimestoppers next. Good morning. I gotta grab the notes of. Oh, you got a copy? Thank you. Oh. Good morning. Good morning. Oh no, yeah, y'all come on in. Nothing else going on. Down one. Come on, you're right here. Oh, yeah. Let's do that.
We're just staying right here. Good morning, Miss Latasha. Good morning. Brian,
Good morning.
Brian,
How are you?
Latasha with I care one,
Yes.
two, and I got it.
Yep. All right. You good? All right, cool.
We're gonna just sit right here. Brian, Miss Latasha is definitely not new to radio.
Okay.
She's on low radio.
Still nervous.
Yeah. This one right here. You want to do this one?
Yeah. So, not new to radio. What have you done before?
I last year had talk show at Northside High School last year.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, 2 years back, I did another teen show in Austin, Texas.
Dadgum. Okay. So I still get all the CBS emails, the programming emails, and their bottom of the hour alert. The headline: Harvard is holding their commencement today. How is that national news? I don't think they're trying to air it. I just that's every bottom of the hour they'll tell you what's happening. Yeah, I take great joy in declining those. Standard Regional, and I'll toss to Crimestoppers. .737 Talk 107.3 FM WBRP mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. Coming up 23 minutes from right now, we have Governor Jeff Landry going to be on the hotline. There's 2 weeks to go in the legislative session. What is the latest? What's left on the table? What's he getting done? What's he helping get done? We'll talk with our governor in 23 minutes. Right now, though, it's time for Crimestoppers. Yes, it is time for Crimestoppers, and once a month, Crimestoppers hands off to the folks over at Eye Care, and that brings Latasha Mitchell into the house today. Latasha, how are you this morning?
Pretty good.
Glad to have you aboard. Tell the folks why you're here today.
Well, my name's Latasha Mitchell, and I'm here to talk about the revamp of the Athletic Leadership Committee with Eye Care.
Athletic Leadership Committee, what is that? How did that come to be?
Well, it actually was started by my team lead, Miss Lori Anderson. She laid down the foundation for it.
Okay.
But I'm going to revamp it, and our hopes is to provide an opportunity to give our student athletes a voice and a platform to grow as leaders.
What put you on that path? What made you want to head that up?
Well, I am a former athlete, and I've also been in education and youth development for years. My background is in special ed and leadership, and it basically was the vehicle that pretty much got me opportunities to grow as a professional.
What was your sport?
Track, basketball.
Track and basketball.
Yeah, I'm actually a 2-time state champion in Louisiana.
No kidding.
In high school, yeah.
In what event?
Long jump and triple jump.
That's awesome.
Yeah, pretty
That
good.
is awesome.
Pretty good.
So the gravitation towards this is a pretty natural one. I mean,
yes,
athletes speak the same language.
Absolutely.
It's one of the running bits over here. Is like everything I do turns into a football reference or sports reference in some way, shape, or form. So I get it. I get where you're coming from. Revamping the committee looks like what?
Well, it looks like pulling in our coaches, parents, and athletes to help educate them on the changes. We want to make sure we are giving our students the tools to manage their stress, to lead the school and their communities with confidence and integrity.
This committee, this is not just in Baton Rouge though. This has the ability to grow legs and get outside of the city.
It is, but we're piloting. We're looking to select 2 schools here in EBR to be a pilot site for this committee to revamping it.
Okay.
And basically, we're working with community partners. I've also have relationships with other parishes and districts around through my previous work experience, and I'm planning to branch out and connect them. But first, we're going to just start here in EBR.
Okay. Well, I guess where I'm going with this is if the pilot's successful, this is something that would be relatable basically anywhere you are.
Absolutely.
I don't feel like this is something that's just specific to us.
Right, because in the long run of it all, athletes are one of the largest student groups on a particular school campus, and so they have the power to influence, others through their leadership.
I want to talk about that end of it in a little bit. We're talking with Latasha Mitchell from Eye Care about the Athletic Leadership Committee. Let's dive into the how. What are a few of the activities that the program is going to introduce to participants?
Well, we're looking to create leadership themes like discipline, accountability, teamwork, and mental wellness. We want to help strengthen their emotional intelligence to be able to be effective leaders in schools and again in communities.
How is that different among athletes than it would be amongst the rest of the student population?
Because athletes are already in line to get these within team, within their team experiences. We're looking to have them have an opportunity to be a voice in the schools, be more vocal, be more of an influence by leading by example.
Let's talk a little bit about winning and losing. I mean, on the field, the scoreboard matters a whole lot, but I mean, it's obviously not everything. When it comes to athletes, winning it's something that you take to heart. So talk to us a little bit about why it's important to teach leadership to athletes and not just, the scoreboard.
Because we want them to connect to purpose beyond performance. We want our leaders to be able to understand their role, not only in the schools, but to develop a relationship with community leaders, with our stakeholders, and, be able to create more opportunities for traditional students to follow along.
The the community of athletes on campus, I mean, they're generally, one would very easily assume that they're naturally going to have that louder voice, but that's not always the case with athletes. Oftentimes, if you're in the huddle, if you're on the team or whatever, your role. There's team leaders and there's role players as well. It's probably pretty wrong to assume that every athlete is going to be this over the top personality to influence everybody. What's it take to pull something out of the other athletes, the role players on the team?
Well, that's when we're looking for peer leaders. We're looking for those athletes who are confident leaders. Like, I don't want to toot my own horn, but I was a very focused and dedicated athlete myself, which is what allowed me to earn a scholarship. And there's certain athletes that have the ability not only to inspire their teammates, but inspire other students as well. So those are the students we're looking to connect first, to be the example. And again, it's being able to model what you want to see.
All right. So we talked about leadership not being about just the scoreboard, but results do matter, right? So talk about how overall involvement is a key factor in success here. And you're pairing together a lot of different moving parts, right? You got parents, you got schools, you got community members. Everybody's involved here to seek volunteers to get them involved with the athletes. How do you pair everyone together and still make this, get everyone rowing in the same direction?
Well, we're looking to start small, start with 2 schools to be able to lead by example. And we're looking to do monthly opportunities where students are going to be peer leaders, leading peer discussions, speaking with our city councilmen, and just becoming a support, learning to utilize those tools that will help them to be more effective leaders.
Okay, so, but what you're pairing here is when you talk about athletes and teenagers in general. I'm sorry, teenagers in general and their parents. It's not always the easiest translation there,
right?
And when you're talking about students and faculty, or students and principals, or sometimes they're pitted against each other.
Right.
You're crossing a threshold here to bring them together. Expound on that a little bit.
Well, basically, there's a lot of changes in high school sports and sports in general. And it's a lot of information that parents need to be aware of, whether it's something like NIL that's coming into play, or, just the different changes in mental wellness highlights that we want to offer our students. It's basically providing them with the tools they need, whether it's parents being more informed on how to support their athletes through the season, or athletes themselves finding resources to help them navigate through the years, whether it's pressure, just using prevention as a tool and a method of helping to establish their leadership.
What does success look like here? Let's talk results, outcomes. What does success look like?
Success looks like growing our mentors, speakers, donors, growing the team to be able to make this more impactful, because it's not just going to come from iCare. It's going to come from our community stakeholders, our parents, and our school coaches and athletic directors. It's a team effort that we're looking to establish.
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. It's not just like a project or something that we just doing. It's a movement that we want to elevate the standards in athletics across the board.
We got a couple minutes left with Latasha Mitchell from iCare, talk about the Athletic Leadership Committee. Break away from it just real quick. You get the pilot program going through 2 different schools. How do you pick the sports, and does your approach change based off of what they play?
We're looking to focus on fall sports and spring sports separately.
Okay.
We're gonna we're in works of creating a athletic leadership summit, which is going to be a kickoff of what this is all about. It's going to invite our community stakeholders, partners. It's going to invite community businesses and other important people in mental health areas to provide resources and actually set the stage of what the committee will do in the rest of the year.
So when you separate fall and spring, it's timeline, not approach, right? And what? Okay, let me give you the reason I'm asking the question is because certain sports are more individualistic. Certain sports are more. You ran track and played basketball, right? Your approach to track and basketball are going to be different. Basketball is a team sport. Track is an individual sport. Are there different paths here for that breakdown?
Actually, being an athlete, period, is the key, because you have to have emotional intelligence, regardless if you're working in a track, on a field, or if you're on a court. Emotional intelligence comes into play. The more you know, the better you are to handle adversities and different things like that. So that's basically how eye care is going to pull into it.
Get us from pilot program to mainstreaming this. What's it going to take to get from one spot to the next? Because, like we said, this is a big bite of the apple here. So, how do you grow?
We're going to grow by, again, seeking out mentors who are willing to pour back into our student athletes, speakers who would like to come in and talk about experiences. We're looking for donors. We're also looking for champions who want to help shape the next generation of student athletes.
Got about 2 minutes left with Latasha Mitchell from Eye Care. Let's bring this back around to Crimestoppers. How does Eye Care, the Athletic Leadership Committee, and Crimestoppers, what do they all have in common? What's the common tie here?
The common tie is prevention. We want to prevent our athletes from making false steps, missteps, along their season, along their training. We want to, encourage them to seek out resources, especially in the mental health and wellness. And for Crimestoppers, it's basically prevention. We want to prevent crime from happening. So partnering with Eye Care is a great fit.
You are looking for mentors. How would those mentors contact you? What's your where do they need to go?
They will reach out to Eye Care, our website, or contact us through EBR, and ask us how would you like to plug in.
Let's stick with that for one more, if you don't mind. Are we just looking for people, or are we looking for like funding as well?
We're looking for all of it. Yes, sir. We're looking for donations to help us be able to offer more resources to our student athletes.
She is Latasha Mitchell with Eye Care. We've been talking about the Athletic Leadership Committee. Thank you so much for a couple minutes this morning.
I greatly appreciate the opportunity.
Greatly appreciate having you on. Always appreciate the partnership with both Eye Care and with Crimestoppers. We got Your Money Now coming up in exactly 1 minute from right now. Within that minute, let's stay on the educational front. Coming up on June 11th and 12th, I'm taking the show on the road. We're going to the Ernest in Montreal Convention Center for the Louisiana Department of Education's Teacher Leadership Summit. Summertime is here. Kids are out of school for the summer. Teachers, don't get the clock out just yet. More than 6,000 educators will be converging on the Montreal Convention Center in New Orleans to take the success that we've seen in recent years and basically, how do you double down on that? How do you gain more momentum? How do you pick up from moving from 49th to 37th to 32nd to wherever we're at right now and move us into the 20s? How do you keep the numbers moving? How do you keep the literacy moving, the numeracy, moving it all in the right direction? These are all going to be topics of conversation. We did this last year, and it was phenomenal. I can't wait to do it again. June 11th and 12th, the Louisiana Department of Education's Teacher Leadership Summit down in New Orleans at the Montreal Convention Center, and right here from 6 to 9, both of those days. It's 7:50 at Talk 107.3 FM. We will take a break. We'll check Your Money Now. We'll check traffic. When we come back, we will have an abbreviated version of This Day in History presented by 5 Star Printing and Signs. Awesome. Thank you so much. Good. That was fantastic. Thank you. Did she warn you I vary between, I don't always.
I felt it, so yeah. I just tried to go with it.
I'm all over the place. So great job. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yes, we will see you next month. I'm gonna kill Mike 4. Yeah. OSHA. Oh. Okay. Oh. Our Rad Dad contest is back and bigger than ever. Roaming Shot Outdoors and Citizens Bank and Trust bring you Dad's favorite gifts ever. A green egg, thanks to Goodwood Hardware. A steak pack from Chris's Specialty Foods. Manly soap from Hawk Soap. And a hunting class for 2 from Roaming Shot Outdoors. Upload pics at talk1073.com now through June 8th. Then get your friends and family to vote June 9th through 12th. Happy Father's Day to all the Rad Dads out there. It is 7:55 at Talk 1073 FM WBRP. Governor Jeff Landry coming up 10 minutes from right now, which means we are bumping up this day in history. Let's roll. All right, there, Cade.
All right, Brian. So we go back to the year 1953.
Yeah, we do.
Edmund Hillary, Tenzing Norgay, 2 individuals who, for the first time, not their first time, but the first time ever, reached the summit of Mount Everest.
Hey!
Now you can go to the Animal Kingdom at Disney World and go to Mount Everest in about 3 minutes. But
it's that quick.
Back then,
it is that quick.
They reported it was pretty cold when they got to the top.
It was a little cold.
You think they had chapstick? I would have had some chapstick with me.
1953.
Yeah, they didn't.
I'm
have
gonna have
that
to
back
look.
then?
I'm gonna have to look up when chapstick was invented. On this day in 1848, Wisconsin became the 30th state in the union.
Ah,
yeah. How about that?
How soon after did they make the curd?
Do what?
How soon after did they make the curd?
Oh, immediately. I
Yeah.
mean, yeah, it was. They did that to celebrate.
1942, Bing Crosby records Irving Berlin's White Christmas for the soundtrack to his film Holiday Inn. It's not the same one?
No.
Okay.
No, Bing Crosby. Hotel Mo. That's not Bing Crosby.
Oh, yeah, fair enough. Bada bing. Let's see. Yeah, I got the Wisconsin joining the union. Let's see. In 1917, future President John F. Kennedy is born. So I guess that's a birthday, but I have it on
yeah.
the timeline.
Yeah.
Let's see. 1942, German authorities decree that Parisian Jews must wear a yellow star. It's certainly going back to some rough history.
Yeah.
In the 1940s.
Yeah.
We know things that led from there. Let's see. Danica Patrick in 2005 becomes the first woman to lead the Indy 500, which just happened this past weekend.
Awesome.
Let's see. 2014, Laverne Cox becomes the first transgender person to appear on the cover of Time magazine.
Fantastic. Hey, on this day in 2002, speaking of magazines, this day in 2002 was the when the Sports Illustrated article came out that labeled more than 50% of Major League Baseball taking steroids.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yep. And it was on this day in 2017 that one Tiger Woods was arrested and charged with driving under the influence in Jupiter, Florida.
Ooh.
How about it?
Golf club?
How about that?
Oh, it's a different thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Birthdays.
So birthdays. The great, the legendary Bob Hope.
Bob Hope, born on this day in 1903.
Let's see. English novelist T.H. White. I'm sure you're very familiar with him.
Sure, why not?
Tenzing Norgay.
So he reached the summit on his birthday. Awesome. Good for him.
Let's see. John F. Kennedy, as I already mentioned.
Yeah, JFK,
president.
born in this day in 1917.
Yep. He also not a fan of red dye number 7 and other things like that.
That's RFK Jr.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, different Kennedy.
Oh.
We got about 30 seconds left. Let's smash through a couple. Patrick Henry was born on this day.
Yeah.
And you also had
I had a good sports one, I think.
Yeah, you got Carmelo Anthony, Eric Davis, former Saints receiver Floyd
Faye
Turner,
Vincent.
and Faye Vincent was the other one.
Yep.
Deaths on this day. I've only got a few. We've only got a couple seconds to mention them. Dennis Hopper died on this day, and it's National Alligator Day. Hour 3's next. Also, Barry Goldwater died on this day. It's all good. Oh, shit. Do what? Yeah. That Weather Channel music's got me thinking. Bumpers on Monday should be all Weather Channel local in the 8's music. Because Monday's the opening of Sunday's the opening of hurricane season. Inventory tax credit repeal, piecing back together constitutional amendment number 2, and what bills look like they aren't going to make it across the finish line. Constitutional amendment number 2. Ooh. Ooh. What bills look like they won't cross the finish line? Yeah, he's good like that. I'm still not used to how different it is with Governor Landry than it was with Governor Edwards. It was so like, it's so much more personal with, like, he's more personable. Like, it's just, he's a dude. I don't want to like take shots at Edwards because he's not around anymore, but everything was at arm's length, you know? Yeah. 805 Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. Hour 3 coming your way right now. Brian here with you, Cade Wazan producing. Busy hour this hour. We're going to talk with David Cresson from the Louisiana Chemical Association in our next segment. And then we're going to talk insurance with Jay Robicheaux from Louisiana Coastal Louisiana Insurance at 8:35. Right now, though, there are 2 weeks to go in the legislative session. Let's get a little progress report, little 2-week warning. In the NFL, you get a 2-minute warning. We get a 2-week warning. Governor Jeff Landry is on with us right now. Governor, how are you this morning?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you, Brian?
Could not be better. Could not be better this morning. As the clock starts to tick down, and this is when the legislature starts to triage a little bit. Find out what's the most important, what's going to make it across the finish line, what's going to make it to your desk before it's all said and done. Give us a progress report. How are things looking right now?
Well, I mean, look, Ron, I think right now we've got an A+. Yesterday we held a bill signing ceremony. I can't remember the last time we've been able to sign bills before the session has ended, especially monumental pieces of legislation. Yesterday we completed the largest tort reform done in Louisiana's history. I mean, over the last 14 months, we have done more than any governor or any legislature has done in their entire terms. And some of those governors have gone Edwin Edwards went 4 different terms. And so all of this, of course, was focused on trying to lower the outrageous cost of insurance. And so I got to tell you, I mean, look, we've worked real hard to do that. It is taken us up to this point to be able to get there. And now we got to finish up the rest of our work over the next couple of weeks.
Okay, so it is the largest, it is the most. Those things are both accurate, but wasn't everything that was out there. Is there still room to get anything else to your desk that would help along the way? And is there anything you're eyeing up that you would like to finish across the finish line?
Look, I'm hopeful that we will get a medical transparency bill done. It was one of the ones that I vetoed last year because I thought we could do better. You remember last year we took a lot of heat for vetoing one bill, signing a bunch of other bills, basically not taking a package, not taking everything that the insurance companies wanted in a package. And we took that criticism, but it was because we thought we could do better. And what we did this session is demonstrably better. It focuses on the findings of the insurance specific report that was done with the legislature back in 2020. That means we've now passed a vast majority of those things that the insurance companies wanted. I think we took a very balanced approach, and we should see premiums start to fall.
Give me a timeline on that, because who was I talking with the other day? Said 12 to 18 months. Oh, Representative Egan said look for about 12 to 18 months before you really start to see things take hold. These things don't happen overnight. But is about 12 to 18 months right here to start to see any real impact?
You know, Brian, I don't know. That's all going to be up to the insurance companies. I will tell you that some of these things were done back in 2020, and again, that was part of the complaint that I had. It's why we took a balanced approach, is because a number of measures have been passed between then and now, and things that we signed last year, and we hadn't seen the impact that we thought we would see. I think it's by taking the balanced approach and putting some teeth into our insurance regulation and giving our insurance department the same type of power that they have in other southern states. I think that that is going to be the nudge needed towards the insurance companies to see the savings start to find its way into our policyholders' pockets.
Let's go back to the medical transparency real quick, because I can't help but remember back to your press conference at the beginning of the legislative session, and you had a big old chart. It was right to your right. And what stood out the most in Louisiana versus every other state is we are more than double the frequency when it comes to the medical claims. What's the likelihood that Representative Glorioso's bill is actually going to get the hearing it deserves?
Look, I think that there are two different bills, both Brian Glorioso's bill and Senator Mike Reese's bill that's in play right now. I've urged both of them to find some common ground. We've done so much. I mean, at that press conference that you mentioned, we pointed to the fact that, wow, the number of accidents in Louisiana are on par with the national average. The amount of severity inside of those accidents, meaning the severity of the injuries, is actually a little bit below the national average, which we discussed was kind of shocking. But what was an outlier was the number of small injury claims, which was double. And so I can tell you that yesterday when we signed the Housley presumption, right, when we said no longer would someone be able to sue over injuries that may have occurred before the accident, they can't pile all the injuries that they had before and then have the jury sort it out. Right. Now the burden is shifted to the plaintiff, so they can only sue over injuries that happened in the accident. They have to show that those injuries actually occurred during the accident. That is going to affect the number of small injury claims. We also increased the amount of award. In other words, on the uninsured, and it gets a little complicated. On the uninsured, if you're driving and you don't have insurance and you get in an accident and you sue someone, you're going to forfeit the first $100,000 of that award, of that claim. That is huge. That is going to make an impact on the small bodily claims in the statistics that we just spoke about. So again, we focused on the fact that here in Louisiana, we are double the national average on small injury claims. And so again, I think that those two things in combination with getting a medical transparency bill across the line are going to and should impact our policyholders in a positive way.
We got Governor Jeff Landry with us for a couple more minutes here. Insurance has been a focus, and Governor, I got to tell you, at the beginning of the session, I asked you this question then. I said, does insurance need its own special session? Can we keep our eyes on the prize throughout? It's sounding like we have. We haven't gotten everything we wanted so far, but at least the focus has not, drifted.
Well, I can tell you this, Rob. I mean, like, while everyone out there didn't get everything they wanted, which includes me, I think that's a part of the process. Here's the most important part. It's not what we may not have gotten. It's the things that we did get. Everything that we signed yesterday is monumental, does have or has been proven to show that you can reduce the rates. We can use the insurance company and the legislature's own report and the things that they said would create the particular savings. We can look at the graph that I put out and I talked about in when we took away the power of the insurance department to be able to more tightly regulate the insurance industry, and we see the increase in premiums. I mean, this is very important. Let's go back to this. I charted the increase of auto insurance costs from 1990 to today. And then I looked at when the legislature took the power away from the insurance department for more tightly regulating the insurance industry. Now, look, we didn't give them, this was a power that all our other neighbors, all our other states, all the states around us in the South have. Took that away from them. From 1990 to 2008, auto insurance rates increased on average of $33 a month. From 2008 to today, 110. You see, when you don't put a guard at the gate, what happens is no one polices it. And so me and you had talked about this before. If you're in a mandated market, remember, insurance is something that the government mandates that you have.
Mm-hmm.
Then the government has a responsibility to ensure that the playing field is level and that everyone is being a good actor. And so again, we talked about this again and again, and taking this balanced approach. So we went and we adjusted all of the things that the insurance companies wanted. That they said, if you adjust the tort law, if you rein in those lawyers on these particular issues,
yes,
we're going to see a savings. And to balance that out, to ensure that we can hold them to their promises, we gave the insurance department the power to more tightly regulate the industry. I mean, the finding in April of this year, found that insurance companies were making more in Louisiana than they were making in any other state around us.
You've mentioned that previously on here. Were those numbers nationwide or were they within the state? I don't want to get bogged down on any one.
Wait. No. This was okay. Let me make sure you understand. These numbers come from the National Association of Insurance Commissioners' Private Passenger Auto Profitability Report released April 2025. Louisiana has the third highest underwriting profit nationally, the fourth lowest loss ratio nationally, the fifth highest return on net worth nationally. Yet we continue to be charged some of the highest rates in the country. I mean, the statistics just came out. Well, I talked about them. I didn't talk about those particular statistics, but I talked about the loss ratio when we started the session. That's why I thought it was important that we took a balanced approach, and the legislature responded to that.
All right, we got just a couple minutes left with Governor Jeff Landry. I said I was going to keep you to 8:15. Can I keep you like 3 more minutes to cover things that are non-insurance related, and then we'll get a full recap once the legislative session is over with. But outside of the insurance stuff, what else has gotten done in this session that you're going to look back on and say this is going to make change in Louisiana?
Well, I can tell you we are restructuring the Department of Transportation and Development. It's something that the legislature decided to tackle this year. And I got to tell you, they're doing a fine job of being able to do that in such a short session. I think that we continue to be responsible in the way that we are budgeting. A couple of other signatures we're working on, some improvements in our energy sector. I am hopeful that we will get a legacy bill, which is something that has plagued the energy industry for some time. It's the number of lawsuits that have been affecting oil and gas. I think there's a bill that's moving through the session right now. I'm hopeful that we are going to land that and get that done. Mm-hmm. So I think that when we'll look back, I think that you see that this session, while it was a fiscal-only session, one of the biggest hallmarks is going to be the improvement of our legal environment in the state of Louisiana.
Last one before we get you out of here, and that is rebuilding constitutional amendment number 2. There was a tough beat at the polls, but a number of legislators have been working to put things back together, kind of a la carte. Are we going to get everything that we would have gotten out of constitutional amendment number 2 out of this session?
Well, I think what we are going to do, we were able to go back in and find the money to give the teachers a stipend one more time, with the understanding that we're going to come back and take a shot at being able to unlock those unused funds, pay off that massive debt, and then save the $200-300 million in interest payments that are going to these Wall Street banks and give our teachers a permanent pay raise. I think what will come out at the end of this session is we'll be able to show the teachers how we were going to do it and how the amendment would work, so that when we put the amendment back on the ballot, they'll support it.
He is Governor Jeff Landry. Quick update on the legislative session. We always appreciate the time. We're going to reserve a lot more time once the session's over with, and you got a little more room to run with us.
Yeah, I'll come in the studio.
Let's go. We're right down the street. You know where to find us.
Thank you, Brian.
Always. Appreciate it. Okay. Governor Jeff Landry for just a couple minutes there. We are going to dive a deeper dive back on the insurance front. Not this next segment, the one after. We're going to have Jay Robicheaux in studio talking about that. Probably going to rebut a few things that you just heard right there. But man, the access that the governor gives us is between this show and Moon Griffon is fantastic. So always appreciate his time. Quick break. We're going to move over and visit with David Cresson from the Louisiana Chemical Association next. Come on in, man. Oh, what you say? Oh, man, he is really trying to sell that HB 184 that allegedly gives Tim Temple all the power in the world. But I told Kate over at his office, I'm like, I want big picture stuff. I don't want to get bogged down, because if we get bogged down, we're going to get the fighting. And if we get the fighting, we're not going to have any real conversation. And, yes. First of all, we're always on Facebook Live. So I don't play the gotcha thing, the hot mic thing ever. It's you always know when you're on with us. I mean, I'm never going to stop him. You know, you want to further. A little less frequent than maybe probably over the month or so. I've been trying to get him to do the call-in show that John Bell used to do. I think so. Oh, by the way, when he in Facebook, when he said he told us last time about those numbers that came out in April, that was a 570-page report he turned me on to. Like, I got 3 kids, 2 jobs. I'm not reading a 570-page report. Jeez, Oh, Brian, you know. No, I don't know.
How old are your kids, Brian?
9, 13, and 17 that just graduated high school, turning 18 in the fall.
Oh, nice. Yes. My last one just graduated high school.
Where at?
Went to Episcopal.
Okay, cool.
And, he's going to move out of the house in a month or so, and I don't know what I'm going to do with myself. Work, I guess.
Yeah. Where's he going?
He's going to play football at Morehead State.
No
Kentucky.
kidding. Okay.
So I have 2 football players. One that's at Nichols, and this one going to Morehead, and then I have a daughter that's an attorney. Well, she is an attorney, but she's accepted a job to go work in New York.
Ooh.
September. So
wow.
She's getting thrown into the lions down there, but she'll be good. She's never been scared of a challenge.
All right, let's dive in. 821 Talk 107.3 FM and WBRP. Mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. We try to catch up with the Louisiana Chemical Association as often as we can because, well, they got a new president CEO, so it's time to get to know David Cresson. David, how are you, man?
I'm good, Brian. Thank you for having me here today.
Nah, glad to have you on. Glad to pick up this conversation where Greg left it off. He was always good to us over here. Very, very open. Very, the conversation's never going to stop because your job's never going to stop.
No doubt.
And it is a direct effect on Louisiana's bottom line. So
I listened to Greg many times on your show, and Greg's been extremely gracious to me during this transition. I've become a good friend, and so I've always enjoyed listening to him when you had him, and I hope I can fill his big shoes.
I have no doubt. So let's talk about the new role. I mean, you're what, a month in, 2 months
About
in?
2 months in.
What's the new role look like, and how are you adapting to it?
Well, I feel good. It come from a different world. I come from the conservation world. I've spoken to you on air about some of those issues in the past. So to come to this industry, having not worked in industry before, has been quite a transition for me, but nothing that I don't think I didn't expect. I tell you what I've found is that this industry is just full of great people. No matter where I've been across the state, meeting with these facilities, going all around meeting, going to the plants themselves. It's great people making great products, really care about the communities that they work in. They super concerned about making sure they do it well, making sure that their communities are thriving. And so it's not a surprise because I knew that going in, but I've just been overwhelmed by how good the people I've met have been.
Very cool stuff. We got David Cresson in with us. He's the president and CEO of the Louisiana Chemical Association. Where do you look to take the role? Is it too soon to start talking about like possible, the path you want to be on?
Sure, we're working on that, and we want to grow this association. We want to continue to find new members to the association. We've got 70 or so right now chemical facilities that are members of LCA. That makes about 70 companies, 115 facilities around the state. Makes up 35,000, 40,000 jobs. An enormous tax base, et cetera. We want to grow that. There are companies that are chemical manufacturers in the state that are not members of LCA that we need to go. Sure. So we're a membership organization like any other, and we want to go find ways to convince those companies that there's value in being part of LCA. We're at the Capitol every single day fighting for those companies, making sure that they are well represented at the Capitol. And, we provide a great value. We need to get those companies that are not our members to become members.
This is the right time to be in this post, though. I mean, there's a lot of movement right now, a lot of investment on the state level. There's talk to me about the I hate the word synergy, but it's the perfect word to use here with LED and where the state's going.
Well, we've got a great partnership with Secretary Bourgeois and her team at LED, with the governor's office. What they're doing to bring industry to Louisiana has been pretty inspiring over the past couple of months. I think the latest number I heard is over $100 billion worth of capital investment coming to the state, whether it's CF Industries or Ascension Clean Air or Hyundai or Woodside Energy, just enormous capital investments coming to the state. And I don't blame them for coming here. We've got such a built-in set of advantages for these companies, whether it's the Mississippi River and all that it provides, or the incredible workforce that we have, or the infrastructure that's already in place. Why would companies not come here? And then you add in the financial benefits of coming to a place like Louisiana with a pro-industry governor, a pro-industry administration, a pro-industry legislature. Now is the time for companies to look at Louisiana and come here, and you can see it through through all the announcements that have come out recently.
Louisiana Chemical Association. Let's talk about a chemical compound real quick.
Okay.
CO2.
Yeah.
There's a lot going on there.
Well, you and I sat in a hearing about this.
I learned I talked about that ad nauseum. I learned so much in that meeting last week.
I thought it was really a well-done meeting. We heard at the Ascension Chamber, you and I were there with 100 of our friends, listening to a roundtable discussion about carbon. Of course, a lot of what's going on at the legislature right now are these carbon bills, and unfortunately, most of them are not advantageous to industry. And fortunately, most of those bad bills have gone by the wayside. There's still a few out there that we want to see go away, and we're working on that. There's some being heard today, in fact. But there's a lot of bad information about carbon sequestration, about CCUS, you might hear it called. This is a safe technology. It's been going on for years here in the state of Louisiana. You and I heard that from the experts that were there weeks ago. It's also very necessary for these $100 billion worth of investments that are coming to the state. These companies want to be responsible with their emissions, responsible with how they handle their carbon. Markets around the world are requiring that these companies, be carbon neutral or even better. And so it's not just some political pie in the sky climate change thing.
But how much? Okay, but how much does the political climate change? How much does the green agenda affect perception before the science kicks in?
Well, a tremendous amount, I'm afraid. And so people look at what's going on with this emerging technology, and they think, oh, well, that's a Biden thing, or that's a crazy environmental thing. But actually, it's very much an economic thing for the state of Louisiana. We need to have access to this technology, and we need to find ways to work with local governments, to work with these companies, to make sure that we have, a good way to take care of this carbon that's emitted in a lot of ways. I mean,
right.
And look, it's not toxic. It's not going to give anybody cancer. It's carbon dioxide.
It's what we exhale.
Yeah, very pure carbon dioxide. It's going thousands of feet under the Earth's surface.
Yeah.
It's going to be transported in extremely safe ways, and so there is a lot of bad information. Unfortunately, what you find is the bad information. It's not an accident. These are environmental nonprofit groups that are paid lots of money and paying people lots of money to create hysteria online, and it ends up putting our legislators in a tough spot.
Yeah,
because they spend a lot of time on social media. They hear all the the outrage about this technology, and unfortunately, they just don't know all the real facts about it, like you and I heard from the professors from LSU and ULL and the experts on it. This is a clean, safe technology that is scalable, that companies need access to, that Louisiana can be on the forefront of this, or they can be left behind like we have so often.
And there's this third part, and this is the humbling part, is if you say, I don't believe pulling CO2 out of the air and pumping it under the ground is going to make a difference in our environment. You don't have to. What you believe doesn't matter. The owners of Hyundai believe it.
That's right.
And they're bringing a butt ton of jobs here.
And every one of these companies that I just mentioned is going to utilize this technology.
Yeah.
And the markets around the world are requiring it. Again, this is not just some pie in the sky issue. This is something that companies around the world that buy products from Louisiana are requiring from the companies here in Louisiana that make these products. Look, our member companies make the best products in the world. They make it the cleanest in the world. They're the most regulated in the world.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to do this very safely, and they're going to make sure people, are responsible in the way it's done.
And then the SLU part of this, the what's going on in Hammond right now as a result of this, Southeastern is going to be a national leader in how to monitor, how to make sure everyone else, as more people more states get primacy, they're going to be on board because of what we are setting the table with right now. We've got Cade, we're going to run long here. I'm just letting you know that right now. Okay. Legislative session. Give me a quick recap of what's been done with, still 2 weeks to go. What do you still have your eyes on?
Well, again, there's still a couple of carbon bills that would make life very difficult for the companies that are interested in this technology if they pass. And so a couple of them are still on the House floor, need to get through the Senate, and we're monitoring those very closely. And our hope is that they go away as soon as possible. But if they don't, potentially the Senate could do something with them. So there's some possible room for some middle ground there. There's some tax bills that obviously impact our industry. Our companies are some of the biggest taxpayers in their local districts and across the state.
Mm-hmm.
And so anything that impacts tax impacts our companies at a very large level. And so we want to make sure that those bills are well done, whether it's inventory tax or others, that impacts our members. And in turn, Brian, I mean, you're talking about one of the biggest employers in the state of Louisiana, this industry is.
Yeah.
Every dollar that they spend impacts jobs. It impacts communities. What's interesting about all of this is, these companies, although they are sometimes shed in a negative light by the folks out there that are paid to do that. Again, these are good companies. They meet with their communities. They care about what's going on in their communities. Every one of them, and again, we've got 70 members. Every one of them is part of a community advisory panel that they host either monthly or every other month to engage with their community members, hear concerns, talk about what's going on. Every one of them does this. They don't have to do this, but they do it because they care about the community. This is where they work, where they live, where they raise their kids, where they go to church.
100%.
They want what's best for these communities. And we've got to separate the bad information out there, recognize to a certain degree where it's coming from.
Yep.
And not be fooled by it. Not let these outside forces impact the narrative here in Louisiana. These are good companies doing good work, making the best products in the world in a very safe and responsible way, building communities, paying taxes, providing jobs, and whatever happens at this legislature needs to keep all of that in mind because it could impact it very negatively.
And 90% of that is showing up. It's a lot harder to demonize when you've met someone face to face, when you've shaken hands with the person and you get the vibe. You can tell what their investment is not just in the business.
Yeah, it's
in the community. Their investment is in long term. They'd be shooting themselves in the foot to do it any other way.
100%. They are economically motivated to have their communities thrive and
to
do
be a
well.
good steward. Yes.
Look, I come from the conservation world, Brian.
Right.
When we needed something in the conservation world, when we needed partners, these are the companies we went to and who stepped up time and time again to support our efforts. These other groups that are shooting arrows at our industry, they were nowhere to be found when we needed help. But industry in Louisiana is where the support is. They're the biggest sponsors of all the events in these communities, whether it's church or school or charitable events. Just go check it out. These are good companies doing good work. We're going to continue to spread that message. And, unfortunately at this session, we've had to fight off some bad efforts. But look, the industry is on the uptick. There's lots of stuff coming this way in Louisiana. And back to your original question, where do we hope to take all of this? We're going to be the voice in the face of this industry moving forward. We want to see it continue to grow because in a rare occasion, Louisiana is finally at the forefront of something. We're at the front of the line.
Yes.
We got to make sure we stay there and we don't, miss this opportunity.
Yeah. One of my favorite quotes of all time is by Mark Twain. He says, "A lie can get halfway around the world before the truth gets its pants on." Carbon capture is finally getting its pants on.
Yeah. Well, we've got a lot of work left to do. There's still a lot of bad information out there. I would really encourage people to go look it up and really find out what this is. Don't listen to the to the haters out there. There's a real opportunity here.
He is David Cresson, President and CEO of the Louisiana Chemical Association. Greatly appreciate the time. We'll talk to you soon.
Brian, great to be with you.
We missed ABC News, and I don't care. Here comes local news, traffic, weather. Jay Robichaux's next. That was awesome.
Thank you, man. Let's do this as often as we can.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. Next time I want to start in with kind of go back to your resume again, but how does the conservation perspective, how does that you bring that mindset with you?
Yeah.
So,
well, I'd love to talk about it on air, but in my view, conservation in Louisiana can't live without industry. They are simpatico. They're one and the same. Industry plays a huge role in conservation. They are the biggest conservationists that I know of, really. And so I can tell all that story the next time I come on. So I'd like to get back to doing our regular piece now that
monthly,
yeah. So
is
it monthly?
It's monthly.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's do it. And,
sometimes it's more frequent than that if news is breaking and calling for. So, but yeah, it should be monthly.
Thanks again.
Jay?
Hey, David. Yeah, we've met. It's been a long time.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. Yeah. Well, I'm in the insurance business, so a lot these days.
Y'all talking insurance?
Sorry, I kept.
No. I'm going to try and just like you, be diplomatic about some of these things that are crazy that come out of our legislature. But,
Hey, is it possible to go back and listen to?
I'll send it over to you. Yeah, so we pull the audio and post it on talk103.com.
Okay.
So I'll put that. If you wanted to watch it, just go back to the Facebook Live. It'll be up there for 30 days.
Okay.
Yeah, once the show's over with.
I got a quick question for you. So I don't know if you remember that me and Patrick were fraternity Pled brothers. What is he up to these days?
He works for an advertising company.
So he's still doing advertising for a while.
He's killing it. And then he and my wife sunscreen kiosks. He's got hands full of little fish.
Please do. I was wondering about it. In fact, I was thinking about him the other day. We were talking about all the old Sigma golf tournaments and stuff like that. And tell him I know he's busy with the little kids, but we ought to get something like that together again. Good talking with you. Okay, Facebook Live, you said?
Oh shoot, let me go grab the mount for the camera.
Okay, super. How are you this morning? Good. I got a favor to ask. Can I email you something and get you to print it?
Yeah.
Okay, and what is your email address again?
You can put Cade at 1045ESPN.com.
You said 1045
ESPN.
Okay, you remind me, you have the show that's the high school football, right? Do you do some other shows or podcasts or anything like that, or is that your main bailiwick?
As far as like on air, yeah, that's the only thing that
Are you able to open a Google Drive document, or do I need to share this differently? No, you know what? The easy thing to do, and I hate to do this is how untech savvy I am sometimes. But I sent it to Brian in an email. What I could do, that might just be easier, is for me to forward that to you and then cut the text and just paste it in like either a Word or a notes document, rather than trying to do the.
What did you do?
So I tried to share. I shared a Google Doc with you, but I know we had trouble with that last time.
Can you just play her weather again?
Yeah. Okay. It's ESPN 1045 or ESPN 1045 ESPN.com. 1045 ESPN.com. All right.
Let me go.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're my Facebook Live guy, so I got that far, and I'm pretty sure I could take it.
Is this on Coastals?
Yep, sure is.
Okay.
Personal Facebook. I don't mess with that. I got enough trouble as it is.
You just want the body of the email?
Yeah, if you could just print that. That's some notes for me. I'm getting too old to be able to read off that little bitty screen. I feel like starting with, I come here to bury Caesar, not to praise him.
You know where this prayer comes to, Brian?
I thought the third floor.
And you know what? If we don't have it, I can wing it. Believe me. This is something I've been talking about ad nauseum.
Okay.
Brian, I almost want to call you Katie. That's what she does. I'm like, here, take the phone. You get it ready. You do everything you need to do, except all right. Well, good. All three people who might tune in to
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. It's got to start somewhere. 840 at Talk 107.3 FM, WBRP, mornings with Brian Haldane, rolling right along. All right, back to the insurance front. Want to welcome back to the show Jay Robicheaux from Coastal Louisiana Insurance. How are you, brother?
Man, I am as good as can be expected. I got to tell you, it's been a really interesting political session. And as somebody who's not in politics professionally, it's been really eye-opening, Brian.
Okay, but at the same time, though, you have been diving in. In fact, you were at the legislature, was it yesterday?
I was.
You sat in on June Day. I've never witnessed a public execution before, but that's what that committee does. What was your experience like yesterday?
It was very interesting and enlightening, Brian. One of the things that I had heard about, learned about in civics class, but didn't realize is that at the end of the day, these legislators put a lot of effort into even getting a bill before a committee. And within 5 minutes, something that they've worked all session on gets axed, and that work may or may not resurrect itself, but oftentimes just goes right down the tubes.
What bills were you there to see specifically? I mean, I'm not asking for bill numbers, and it's only nerds like me remember that. But what were you on the lookout for?
You know, it's funny you mentioned that, Brian. That's one thing I was speaking with somebody about the other day. Politicians don't think like normal people do all the time. We think about what does the bill do. They see so many of these things that all they're really worried about is a number. And that being said, the bill that I was most disappointed to see get shot down was the loser pays bill. yesterday.
Was that Blake Miguez's?
That was Blake Miguez's bill, and I'm hopeful that it'll resurrect itself between now and the end of the session.
Okay, so not to shoot you down right there, but Blake Miguez is on the Senate side, and you were in Senate committee, so that bill is not going to make it. If it comes back up again, it's got to clear over to the House side as well. I don't think it's got enough time.
You know, Brian, I'll be candid. I 100% agree with you. I try to be a glass half full guy. And I look at a lot of the legislation that did pass, a lot of the legislation that the governor supported, and it was good legislation.
Yeah. So let's talk about that for a minute, because we just had the governor on like half an hour ago. This is, per his words, I have my notes. Hang on. The largest tort reform in Louisiana history is what went through, or what has so far gone through this session. As someone who works in the insurance business, do you agree with that takeaway?
Brian, I think a giant asterisk could be put on that particular statement.
Okay. Is that asterisk the bill in particular that allegedly puts all the power in Tim Temple's hands?
You know, Brian, I wasn't here to cast stones, but I was very disappointed. For those who are bill number wonks, I believe that was House Bill 148.
184.
184.
Yeah, the right three numbers. Yeah.
Well, like I said, I'm not a professional politician. I am a professional insurance agent. And so I can only speak from my perspective and from my clients' experiences, Brian. And that being said, I think that while we have passed a lot of substantive reform, that this bill really does make a lot of carriers take pause about coming into the state of Louisiana because of the way that some of the language was put into the final bill.
And the devil's always in the details. If 184 is going to be a hindrance, what's going to be a help? Modified comparative fault, that made its way through. That I feel like that's going to be a big one.
I feel like it could be something very substantive, Brian. Let me make an analogy, though, for you, if I may, talking about modified comparative fault. So just to kind of read the language from the modified comparative fault, if I can find it on my notes. And if not, I'll sum it up in lay people's terms. Modified comparative fault basically says that if somebody's at least 51% to blame for an accident, that they can't sue the party that's in the minority for causing their issues and injuries.
If the accident were mostly your fault, you can't sue. Yes.
And you know what? I find that interesting, and I'll go back very quickly, segue to House Bill 184. And what the bill essentially says is that the commissioner is the one who has the power to make decisions about, you know, if the insurance company is mainly at fault for their rates being what they are or not. I don't agree that that's the way things should be handled. But more importantly, if we're using that same analogy, who's most at fault in this? I think most Louisiana consumers would agree that the tort situation in Louisiana is at least 51% to blame.
Okay, yeah, I see where you're going now. I'm caught up to speed now to see where you're going.
For our insurance crisis.
Yeah.
And I feel like that really is what needed a lot more attention still than it received this session.
I agree with that, and medical transparency especially. If that either Representative Glorioso's bill or Senator Reese's bill can find their way through in these last 2 weeks, it's going to be a game changer when it comes to rate. Now, speaking of rate, boots on the ground, you see change in the legislative session. Representative Egan out of Covington said, and the governor kind of reiterated a little while ago, I'm looking at 12 to 18 months, possibly 2 years before we start to see what happens in the session affect us when it comes to our premiums. What kind of time frame would you put on, like, let's say the bills that got passed between last year and this year, when you combine those bills together, when you combine the new laws together, what kind of timeline are we looking at to see actual change when it comes to my premiums?
Brian, that's a great question. And the reality of it is, like anything else that's worth doing, it takes time. One of the things that the governor alluded to was that they implemented a lot of the changes that were done in a study in 2020. That was 5 years ago. We're just getting around to making those changes. So I don't think we can be in a hurry to see substantive rate change. Frankly, I'm not sure we did enough to really drive rates lower, though I hope that I'm wrong on that. I hope that we do see some rate changes happen significantly. But one of the things that I'll point out is education was a crisis 10 to 15 years ago in Louisiana. There are those who might even argue that it still is, but you can look at the test scores and see that a lot of the changes that we were forced to make, not that we chose to make to be proactive, but because things were so bad we had to do something, a decade and a half later are really just starting to pay dividends.
Yeah. Yes, those changes plus a lot more once Cade Brumley took office, he has so accelerated things along the way. And I would make the comparison that Tim Temple in his post and Cade Brumley in his post, they're both the accelerants that we need.
I would agree. I would put one caveat in that it seems to me that Cade has the full support of the governor.
Okay. Well, also, he doesn't have to answer to companies who decide whether or not they want to play in our sandbox. That's an added part to this equation that if I have beef with House Bill 184, if I have beef with saying that Tim Temple can dictate rate, no. In fact, I got to pull that soundbite from the governor where he said the insurance companies decide, because they're the ones ultimately that do decide. And if you put too much power in one man's hands, you run the risk of running them off to where we don't even have them as a carrier anymore, or we set up something where companies end up insolvent. I tell you what, you were supposed to be out of here by 8:50 and it's almost 8:50 right now. Can I get you to hang around till the end of the show?
Brian, I would be glad to.
Awesome.
I want to sell some insurance, but more importantly, I think I want to make it easier for the citizens of Louisiana to buy insurance. And so this is an important topic.
All right. So crumpling up the outside in, we're not going to do that today. We're going to continue this conversation. Jay Robichaux's in studio with us from Coastal Louisiana Insurance, kind of a boots on the ground perspective of what's going on in the legislative session on air. We got Your Money Now. We got a check of traffic. We'll come back and continue this conversation next on Facebook Live. Stick around because we're going to keep on moving as the break wears on. All right. So we are still on Facebook Live on Talk and on yours.
All right. Well, super.
So, yeah.
You know, I'll make sure not to cuss anybody out. I do want to kind of bring up an anecdote. You know this, but a lot of folks may not know that me and the governor grew up in an area that were about 10 minutes away from each other in rural St. Martin Parish.
Really?
We did.
Well, I knew you were from St. Martin. I didn't realize. By the way, you know, like the governor has been the governor for a little over a year. When you cross over to St. Martin Parish on I-10, it says home of Governor Jeff Landry. The governors get on that quick, man. They get on that quick.
Well, look, there's a lot you can say about Jeff, both good and bad, but I think mainly good. And one of the things that he's very, very good at is that he is a very good self-promoter, as are most people who become governor in the state of Louisiana.
Correct. If you are going to run for political office, you have to be good at that.
Well, and especially in this state where it's the little populist gestures that go a long, long way.
Yeah.
And so, you know, just a kind of quick anecdote about Jeff Landry. My dad actually met Jeff about 40-ish years ago. He used to build swimming pools for a living. He built the Landry family swimming pool when Jeff was a kid, and he still owes Jeff's father for a political favor. He ran over a servitude line, and so he could have been out several $1,000s. Just so happens that Jeff's dad was an architect and was able to look at the plans and realize that the way they were drawn up, that by about 4 feet, the parish had mismarked the power lines on the servitude. And thus, because of that, he didn't have to come out of pocket. So, look, I appreciate the Landry family and what they've done for my family for 40 plus years.
See, that's the Louisiana stuff right there.
Well, it is. And look, I love this state. It is what it is, though. And there are some things that I think need to change and some things that make us unique and make us awesome. And sometimes that fine line gets very, very blurry.
Yeah. Yeah. Give me 1 second here. Responding to a text while I'm.
Well, and Brian, there's one thing I'd like to mention about that 148. That's just a real quick, but I think important point is that the language around the bill can get the insurance commissioner not only to subjectively reduce a rate height, but that he can force insurance companies to redistribute excessive profits from the company if they believe that they've overcharged.
Yes, which is based off of the way that that Tim Temple evaluates rates right now. That's not going to happen because it's all actual. It's all numerical. Nothing subjective about it. Everything he does is based off of what the numbers tell him to do. It's not like he has a gut feeling from one day to the next.
Well, the reality of it is the insurance business only works based on the law of large numbers. being a finance guy, having a master's in finance, I'm by no means a numbers wonk, but I've studied enough about how numbers work that we know statistically you have to have a large enough pool to get a real sample size. And the reality of it is, insurance companies are dealing with such a runway of long-term financial decisions that they have to deal with, that they're making decisions now for 5 and 10 years down the road. And what kind of decisions are they making for that 5 and 10 years down the road? What does that look like, for when our kids start driving? And it's the same thing for anything, education, crime, poverty, all these things.
Well, and one of the things I didn't like about what the governor had to say was he was talking about what rates were before 2008 and whatnot, right? And how rates have gone up since then when you've taken the power out of the insurance commissioner's hands, blah, blah, blah. There's a part of that equation that he completely overlooked, and that's Jim Donelon got reelected 3 times on the campaign slogan of "I'm not in jail." Robert Woolley, Jim Brown, those guys served time. We had extenuating circumstances that caused us to do what we had to do. And oh, by the way, that was all the while. I don't want to vilify attorneys because they're playing by the rules that were set up and established for them. But if you are allowed to write the rules to any game you're going to play, you're going to win that game because you're the one who wrote the rules.
Well, look, if Shaq was playing on an 8-foot goal, just think about how many points he'd have scored.
Right. It's exactly right. Or the always having a moving target, like no matter what, always having a moving target that the insurance company and the policy holder, that moving target that we have to keep up with is, I don't know. It just, to me, it makes it untenable.
Well, here's an interesting thing to consider, Brian. Insurance companies, do you know where they generate the majority of their profits from?
Where?
Investment returns.
Yeah.
So they take all of these dollars that they have set aside to pay premiums, and they don't just sit in a bucket. They take them and they invest them. So when interest rates doubled over the last couple of years, that means they earned double on their investments, which means that, of course, they're going to be more profitable, even if you remove all the other variables.
The governor said that insurance companies make more money in Louisiana than they do other states. Is that accurate?
That is completely inaccurate.
I thought so.
Well, Brian, and may they have had a very successful year in Louisiana? Yes. But there's a concept in finance called beta, okay, which basically looks at how one investment performs versus the market. And so if you look at the beta of a oil and gas stock, right, that's not necessarily going to follow the market, but it's going to maybe give you some insight into the market. That's how I feel insurance is.
Okay. I'm going to pick it back up here.
Sure. And I could really nerd out on the finance side of this, but the reality of it is money gets made a lot of different ways.
Yeah. All right. Got about 3.5 minutes left here. Mornings with Brian Haldane rolling right along. I do need to remind you, if you don't have your lunch plans yet, P.F. Chang's is here for you. The black pepper chicken is unbelievable. Lunch special starting at $13.99 every day. Dinner special starting at $16.99 every night. And, oh, by the way, happy hour specials every day of the week. The bar is so underrated. I love the food so much that I never talk about the bar. It is fantastic. So if you're stopping after work, need to pop in for a quick drink, they've got you covered. And, oh, by the way, dinner special starting at $16.99. You can't go wrong. You know where to find them. Off of Corporate Boulevard in Town Center. Look for the giant golden horse. It is P.F. Chang's. We got Jay Robicheaux in with us from Coastal Louisiana Insurance. Jay, I wanted to keep you for a couple of extra minutes, just to kind of continue the conversation that we were having as we were heading into break. The overall outlook here, and you were talking about the compare and contrast, like between Department of Education and the progress we're seeing now versus a Department of Insurance and the progress we may start to see soon. I think one of the bigger takeaways is the consistency with which we're paying attention. As someone who works in the industry, does something that little as, oh my goodness, they're paying attention, is that a motivator? Is that something very, very real that can translate to, if we've got the legislature's attention, can we get the industry's attention?
Brian, that's a very great and very fair question. The way I look at it is like this. Politicians are political animals.
Mm-hmm.
At the end of the day, they can't please everybody, and nothing that they do should be taken personally.
Oh, of course not.
Okay. But this one feels personal to me because my livelihood depends on making sure that citizens of Louisiana can find readily available, fairly priced insurance. And so I think the important thing to note that I point out quite frequently is I don't work for the insurance companies.
Mm-hmm.
I work for the clients, the people who are buying insurance policy. And it's my job to say, yeah, all rates in Louisiana suck. Maybe we can find you one that sucks less. And that's really a difficult spot to be in. I feel like we're put between a rock and a hard place because many people don't understand that, frankly, we need the carriers more than they need us. Louisiana, as profitable as the governor may seem to think that it is, makes up less than 2% of the revenue for all of the national companies who do business here. Right. Most companies can skip 2% of revenue for a lot of headache, and they will.
Insignificant is a bad spot to be. It's, not being on somebody's radar is a bad spot to be. Being able to be, if we could just be dumped and they don't miss a beat, that's a tough spot to be in. 30 seconds left. Bottom line it for us. You were trying to be optimistic, glass half full earlier, but your quick takeaway on the way out of here.
Well, Brian, once again, I'm really, really hoping that we stop hearing a lot of legislative speak and a lot of real people speak about what we need to do to get across the finish line. One of the things that I think we ought to pay attention to, like you mentioned, is that under the current law, jurors hear the total amount that's billed, not how much it actually costs. And that's how settlements get made.
And that's the medical transparency one that is going to be the bug.
One last thing, Brian.
Quick.
I do know trial attorneys will not stop funding politicians. This will not happen, so pay attention.
Moon's next. I mean, going out with shots fired. All right, Facebook, we got to get out of here. We will see y'all tomorrow. We got Pennington in the house tomorrow. We got Lake Urgent Care hopping on board. And, oh, yes, Rocco. We'll see y'all then.
Oh, I hope I wasn't too bashy.